Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Monroe Planning Board meeting. Today is August 1st. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, thank you. The fire exits in the building, the entrance that we all came through, down the hall next to the entrance, and then behind us there's another. On that note, last night there was a fire in my neighborhood. My neighbor, a longtime resident and a local businessman, lost a good portion of his home. Very difficult. It's a very tough night, and the fire department and the firemen of our town really rose to the occasion. They were fantastic. Our condolences go out to the family, and our thanks to our local firemen. And I hope everything goes well for the family in the very near future, and that they can get their home back soon. But, all right, let's start the workshop meeting. Mikveh Yisrael is the first one on. Do you need to wait for John Atzel? No? Okay.
Audra, did you say where the exits actually were?
Yes, I did. I think I did. I said what I usually say.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, just put your appearances in for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isaac Walter, the project manager.
Okay. All right, Isaac. When we met, we were going to review the resolution. We had an outstanding issue. There were some questions on the playground that you're proposing for the roof, the secondary roof. So maybe we can start there, and then we can, if all is well, we can move on to reviewing the resolution that Mike Donnelly has prepared. Mark, I think you were going to look into some things on the playground issues.
Generically, and it would apply to any school buildings that are submitted to the planning board. Upon doing a little investigation, making a general call to the State Education Department and speaking with a representative from Facilities Planning, they review applications that involve funding through the state for those projects that are private in nature and that are secular religious schools. That Facilities Planning Group does not review the plans. They effectively have a separate division that oversees non-public secular religious schools, but the degree of review is nowhere near what occurs for state-funded projects that are for, let's say, regular school districts that collect tax dollars and get state funding. And I asked the generic question as to whether for such privately funded secular religious schools it would be appropriate for a planning board to review the elements of the site plan, and the representative I spoke with said that that seemed to be an appropriate course of action. I didn't dive in any deeper into the discussion. I didn't want to get into a situation where I was providing information specific to an application, because that's not really what the board asked me to do. So I asked it generically. I spoke with the state representative. I made that call back on July 12th.
Okay.
So that's where it's at now. The conclusion that I reached was that it was reasonable for the planning board for these type of applications to review the details of the plan directly with the applicant.
Beyond that, so I totally get it. So beyond that, are there codes that would apply here that are state codes, not local?
I did not extract that information for fear of starting to get too specific for applications, but in speaking with Kirk Rother, specific to the Glenwood School application, he was looking into some common standards, so he might be able to help out with that when he has his appearance.
Okay, all right, yeah. And maybe, I know John's not here. John's not coming, John Atzel?
No.
Okay, all right.
Could I speak to one other issue that is
Yeah.
pertinent to what one item he asked John to look into? There was a kind of a new issue raised that I wasn't aware of, which was adding of evergreen plantings along the property line toward Route 17. It sounds good, but there's a very narrow strip along the front of the parking lot toward 17 on their property. Of course, there's more property on the state right-of-way, but on their property, there's a narrow strip between the edge of the parking lot and the property line. That area is completely occupied by stormwater improvements. So
Oh, okay.
we can't put plantings in and defeat the purpose of the stormwater improvements. So that strip pretty much is occupied already.
Just to follow up on that, Mark, the property that is owned by the bus company that parks their buses, I believe they own that strip of property just in between the
I think
drainage.
that's across the street.
No, no.
He means to say,
Between
Last-
17 and the Mikva drainage, there is a strip of land that the bus company owns.
Oh, that's to the right of this plan. I don't know that, unless, because this plan doesn't show the property line as being identified. There's an unidentified line on the plan. So what you're saying is there's a strip around that hooks around the back of this property.
When we first reviewed this, there was a residence where the bus parking area is now.
Okay.
And there was a swath of property that ran parallel to the Mikva property and almost parallel to 17. And it was at that time they were going to seek the owner's permission of the bus parking area to see about screening the Mikva with shrubbery or pine trees.
When it was privately owned, yes.
Yes.
it was.
Right.
Right, and
Now
now
that
they
it's
own
owned by the same people, we felt that it would not be a problem by having the plantings put in that we had originally requested.
All right. This shows that adjoining property is owned by KLC Equities, probably another entity, but you may
Are we
wanna-
looking at the same property? Let's make sure. You want to get up and take a gander? Do you know who KLC Properties is?
yes, it was on KLC's, but now it's on Shire Terrace. It's our
Oh,
property.
so it's not
Wausau.
KLC anymore.
No, it's Shire Terrace.
So you need to update your plans probably.
So is this the
The
property?
bus parking plan.
The map that shows it as KLC.
Okay, all right. So the unidentified line on the plan for the Mikva application is in fact the property line, with that property line depicting a strip, as Gary indicated, owned by the adjoiner.
Which is,
So-
who's the adjoiner?
I hear that there's a new owner.
It's Shire Terrace.
What?
Sherry tour.
Shire Terrace owns
Oh.
it now. The property from KLC?
It used to be KLC.
Yes,
on here.
it's Shire Terrace now.
So,
Okay, your property is owned by Miriam Goldberger,
Yes.
but the neighboring property is now Sherry Torah.
Yes.
Okay, and that's
Now
why.
when you're printing out the deed, it's Shire Terrace.
Okay,
We need to update the plan too.
so
which is why we were
Being-
requiring that.
being separate property owners, you could still ask for the same effort of getting a strip of planting on the adjoining
Right.
property.
Yep.
So,
And
but it just can't be on this property. It's got to be on
So it has to identify it accurately that where we're asking for these plantings.
and I think there has to be some type of authorization given by the adjoining property owner.
Yes,
Just for
as one
record.
of the conditions, but that shouldn't be a problem.
No, it's we own that property, so.
Right. You're thinking of we as, even though Miriam Goldberger is the owner of the mikveh, as,
Shire Terrace owns it.
right.
So we can have some letter from them saying we can plant the whatever the planting.
Okay, so, but don't we have to specify what plantings,
You should get
to what extent?
if you can provide some guidance, I can make sure it's on the plan.
The prior resolution had language
I'd have to find that, that's,
Yeah, actually, I think, was it in our, no, it was not in our packets, because it's quite old at this point. Mike, you would have to, look at the prior one.
Yeah, I can see if I can access the computer.
I probably have it. What year was that?
2012, maybe,
Okay,
I'm guessing.
yeah, probably. Okay. Okay, so while you're looking for that, Mike, going back to the playground, I think that we do want to hear from John Atzel, confirmation that there either is or is not some state codes that would pertain to playgrounds. And just if there's confirmation that there are not, then we need to know that. If there are, then someone has to tell us that so we can review it, and make sure that we're compliant.
No, I think
Is that fair to say, Mike?
No.
Mark?
that's Sherry Tour itself.
Yes, I don't know that John is, will get an information relative to this specific site, but I think he should give you some standard guidelines that you could accept as being reasonable for the application.
Well, I mean, look, if the state doesn't have prescribed code or guidelines on this, then nothing would apply.
It's up to the board if you care for me to call the state, and I do have a contact number for the non-public school services, and ask if they prescribe guidelines, and we can get an absolute answer. But
Well, I guess it comes down to whether it's really our jurisdiction to be doing that, or whether, I mean, look, the state has confirmed it would be appropriate for the planning board to review this aspect of the project. But we've discussed before that it would be Ben Maldonado, our building code enforcement officer's responsibility to make sure it was built per code. I think we're talking about the difference between code enforcement and guideline.
one has to do with safety and state code compliance from a
Right.
building code standpoint, and the other has to do with what elements do you want in the playground area so that there's adequate facilities to serve the school.
And I think it's the latter that we haven't really gotten information on, whether there are some guidelines put out by the state for non-publicly funded.
I can reach out to John and decide who's going to call so we can get the right answer.
Yeah.
In the old resolution, you're talking about the condition having to do with plantings on the adjoining
Yeah.
property.
Where were you?
It read, "The applicant shall make a bona fide good faith attempt to obtain authorization of the adjoining property owner, McCarthy, to plant screening on that property owner's side along the common property line. Copies of certified mailings to that property owner response received shall be submitted. If plantings are not authorized, the applicant must return to the planning board for determination of whether the efforts to obtain authorization were adequate. If plantings are authorized, the proposed planting plan shall be approved by the planning board before the plans are signed."
Okay.
And they were not able to get the authorization,
Right.
so we never had it.
Here, we already have the authorization. You're representing that that's not going to be a problem. So maybe we can have as the condition is that you simply get us a letter from Sherry Torah authorizing the plantings, and we decide right now what plantings we want. And that way they don't have to come back again for this. How about that? Fair?
Well, are you going to have them come back relative to the playground issue?
Oh, yeah, right.
So if they're coming back, you might as well have them depict.
Oh, gosh.
it's gotta be.
Yeah, I was really hoping to have an answer on that. Well, what's the board's preference here?
We need to get screening without a doubt.
Well,
as
the
far
screening,
as-
yeah.
Okay.
The
The other
playground
part is,
only.
would it be more beneficial for the applicant to submit some kind of conceptual plan on what he's planning on doing? And then once we have a conceptual plan, we can either take it to the next level and call the people at the state level? Or do
Well, we
wanna
kind of
make
already
it-
have a conceptual, we don't have a conceptual drawing plan, but we have a concept because they submitted that to us already.
Well, those are pictures out of a book.
Yeah, they
Those are-
were.
Those
They
are
were.
appliances that would be put in a playground.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
are they gonna arrange it on a rooftop? Are
Right.
they gonna have fencing around it? Are they gonna have screening around it? Are they gonna have
That they told
water
us.
fountains? Yeah, they told us.
Yeah, but we don't have anything.
There's nothing on a plan, so the building department can't.
Was it made part of the narrative?
I don't know
I
that
don't
it,
remember.
Didn't we talk that the playground is going to be Ben's issue to make sure everything is as per code.
Well, as Mark explained, what we talked about was from a building a safety standpoint and code compliance standpoint, yes. But what we're talking about is design elements, and if there are state guidelines as to what's appropriate and what the state is suggesting is safe and appropriate, I guess. Is that right?
Yes,
Fair.
the number of elements. I mean, I'm sure that Ben is going to be very careful in ensuring that none of the playground elements that you climb on are not even remotely close
Right.
to the edges. I mean, that's just common sense. So Ben's going to look at it in that regard. If they take a 4 or 5 foot setback to all the exterior edges and create a center area with all the playground elements, I don't know, does the board really want to start picking what type of
No.
plastic monkey bars, or, I mean, I don't know that that's something that you want to get involved in.
But when it comes to code enforcement, I mean, does our code really talk about what the setback for fences would be on a roof playground?
That is going to be something that Ben is going to review from a safety standpoint, life
Okay.
and safety. So the question now becomes, on the second half of the discussion, how far do you want to drill down on deciding if there's what type of climbing elements, if it's going to be slides or something else? Do you really want to get involved with that?
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with Mark.
Here,
You know,
put it up a little
the
bit.
difference between this plan and the other plan that we're reviewing is a matter of area in terms of physical area. I don't want to get into determining what kind of playground is suitable. The only thing that I could think possibly that the planning board may want to consider is the use of the rooftop in that area from aesthetic and visual perspective. But as far as the actual features that are going to be within the playground area on the roof, I'm satisfied that, you know, as long as the building inspector reviews it in terms of safety and building code, that's his jurisdiction or her jurisdiction.
Okay. Lisa, how do you feel?
I'm not sure. Can I get back to me?
Okay.
I know the applicant had provided pictures of some playgrounds similar that had been constructed in the city. I think they have a good general idea of what is appropriate for children that are going to be at the school. So I don't think we really need to get down to the nitty-gritty as to which play set and how many swings and that, as long as the safety, that the items are not going to be placed in an area where a child might crash into a wall or crash into the fencing or bump into it and abrade themselves. I think that would be fine with the code enforcement officer.
Okay. Gary, how do you feel? Or shall I go back to Lisa? Lisa, go ahead.
I think Gary mentioned a good point that we don't have a visual, other than the pamphlet that we were shown with how it could look. So, I don't know if there is drawings necessary, but I agree with what Gary was saying as far as we just don't know how high the fencing's gonna be or anything like that, and also Mark mentioned where it's gonna be placed. So, I don't
Well, we know where it's going to be placed.
well, as far as where the playground equipment and how far away from the fence and stuff like that, how far it's going to be. So that's, I agree with that being a concern. I don't know if we should get some type of, drawing or something to show distance. And without guidelines, it's kind of hard to say too.
Yeah. Okay, Gary.
Well, I have one question again. If we just approve playground on a roof, that leaves us open for who to make a decision of what goes up there and how it's designed. Would that fall into the building inspector's?
Well,
Yeah.
the town doesn't govern it, but if the state building code does, Ben would.
Okay,
And if it doesn't,
Then they're free to erect what they think is appropriate on their property.
and if Ben feels that it's unsafe, but there's no code that,
Oh, I think he probably has some inherent authority in that
I do
sense.
too.
Yeah.
so,
From a visual impact standpoint, it may be worthwhile
right.
to look at the plan. And if you look at the plan and you're concerned about this being visible from 17, the building shields the view substantially to the rooftop playground. Because don't forget, the building kind of surrounds the
Yeah.
playground. The only place you would see this playground would be from Scunnamunk and Forest Avenue. And then think about the sight line. You'd be looking up at a second-story level with a fence on top of a wall. So in all likelihood, the sight line will go over the playground elements and over the short children. Because
And-
once you're looking up,
Yeah.
so it's going to screen it.
And we have a parapet almost 9 feet at some places.
A parapet.
In front, and Forest and Scunnamunk.
Mm-hmm.
As you can pass by, you can see. And if Ben feels something is not safety, even if it's not a code, he's not going to give me a CO to make sure it's safety. This is what he
Yeah.
did in the past.
So did that answer your questions? What's your
Well,
what's
that
your-
was that was the one, and if the board feels comfortable where we just go in and say, yes, we approve a playground on the rooftop, I don't know if it would be proper for us to leave it all up to Ben. I mean, do we have to make a determination of type of fencing around the rooftop, or is that something that would fall onto Ben?
I spoke with Ben on this very early on, and I reported back to the board. And Ben felt very comfortable that he could use the state code to require the right fence, the right height, and the right safety.
All right. And also the engineering of the rooftop for support of so many children and toys and
The-
collection of water and
the-
everything else.
The dead load and the gravity load are going to be part of the design that will be submitted to Ben. If they need to create any additional bracing, they'll have to take care of that. There's going to be proper drainage already because they've got the kind of a parapet arrangement now. If it's not used as a playground, it's going to collect rain as it's constructed now.
So something like that, so for instance, if they had to build a stronger roof to support the play area, that would not be something normally that would be in our plans?
No, absolutely not. That
Right.
would be something Ben would review. And to be
Right.
honest with you, if Ben looks at the structural design of that roof and it can't carry the playground with the proper loadings, he'll deny them a permit to build the playground.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
And when it comes to the fencing, see, when I look at the fencing, I think, well, okay, to me, it's two things. It's a visual issue and it's a safety issue. The safety issue isn't our issue. It's Ben's issue. He's got to make sure it's compliant with whatever applicable code, and if there isn't one, that he feels it's safe. The aesthetic is our issue,
Right.
I think.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
But
I mean, that's how I think of
But I
it.
think that applicant, and Mark, maybe you can,
Get it closer to your face.
is that the parapet wall will screen the fence.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the aesthetics. I kind of agree there that I don't think it's going to be all that visible.
No, I don't think so. Remember, it's a small portion of the footprint of the building, and it faces toward the town road intersection rather than out toward 17.
Right. To me, all the issues come down to aesthetics and safety. Look, if they're gonna have a very tall jungle gym near a fence, that would really
Oh.
concern me. Again, though, that's a safety issue, and for Ben to make sure that they don't get SCO then. But
He may very well take any elements that are taller and require that they be permanently anchored into the roof so they couldn't be slid closer to the fence. But
And
again,
would it be our jurisdiction to require, for instance, that no jungle gym or a play set be more than 50% high or within a certain distance of the fence, things like that? I mean, is that something that normally a planning board would do?
I wouldn't think so, because
No.
if that is a regulation, that would be part of the building code. You certainly
Okay.
could say that the fence or the wall or the top of the swing set, if visual, elements was your concern, would have to be screened, would have to be set back further for that purpose.
Right.
But not your making an ad hoc determination as to what's safe.
Yeah. So yeah. On the visual, I mean, one thing you may want to think about if you're really concerned about the visual aspect of the fence, to require the fence to be a certain color so it blends. That might be a good idea. But every time I break down what's in a playground, and I think about, what I would be concerned about, it comes down to those two things, safety and visual. And the safety, I always come back to, I don't know that it's something that the planning board would get involved in.
No,
Plus,
and
they
I-
would have to sort of design and pick out all of their elements now to present it to us of what, and commit to buying certain things, and, I don't know.
And I don't know that
Be weird.
from a standpoint of qualification to review the code compliance issues of that aspect, no one sitting here tonight has that qualification. It really is Ben. It's his jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be saying it in that way other than the fact I called Ben early on and he said, I'm very comfortable taking care of that.
Okay. So for me, I'm not concerned, I'm concerned about the safety issue, but for me, it comes down, it really is a Ben issue. The visual part of it, I think the fence should be a color that blends. And to the extent that there is going to be visible play structures, I also think that they shouldn't be neon and crazy. They should blend, so that way it's visually.
Or be screened by the fence.
Or be screened, yeah, by the fence.
Isn't the fence going to be screened by the parapet wall?
It seems.
Except
I'm not sure if they're going to put a parapet wall up and then a fence on top of the parapet
Yeah.
wall to gain more height.
No. We're talking about small kids. We're not planning to put any glitchers and that stuff. It's just whatever to walk there and play with toys. It's small. It's tiny kids.
But where is the fence in relation to the parapet wall?
The fence is gonna stay away like 3-4 feet away from the parapet wall, and some parapet wall is 9 feet. Some parapet wall is 6 feet. You have big parapet walls. I don't think the fence is gonna be more than 6 feet.
And but how old will the kids be?
The kids are small kids, like this, high, and plus the top goes in for the safety. No one shall whatever.
Oh, so it's a fence, but then it's going to have
Yeah.
the
Has a return on it.
yeah, the return. Okay.
And what's the minimum parapet wall height?
6 feet, 5.5.
But the fence isn't going to be built on top of the parapet wall.
Not on top of the
I'm
parapet.
trying to make the point that the fence is maybe in some locations maybe a foot higher than the parapet wall, but from my perspective, that's a substantial amount.
The fence gonna be inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be away from the parapet like 3 feet.
What
Because we
material are
have-
you planning on having the fence constructed of?
What?
What material for the fence?
I'm not sure now.
But if the fence is 3 feet back from the parapet wall, it would have to be substantially higher than the wall for it to be seen from
Yes.
ground elevation,
Yes.
because
We
the
must
further
be-
you move it back, the more it falls into the shadow of that wall.
Right.
We must be away because we have support. We can't put a straight wall, so we support it back.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't walk even to the parapet wall. We have bracing supporting the walls.
So I think if you restrict the fence to be some color that blends with the building, that would be a good restriction.
I think
So
it's
even
fine.
you see the top of it or the return, it wouldn't be
Well, that would either be like a vinyl chain link fence that's
vinyl
whatever
coated,
color-
black vinyl coated, or
right,
some other type of vinyl fence that would be dark.
as opposed to a shiny metal galvanized. fence.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that I would like to have
Me
in
too.
there. I don't know how everyone else feels,
You
but at
want
the
to
very
just say
least.
it be dark in color, or you want to specify the material?
Uh,
I heard
Oh.
both
Well,
options.
I
If
don't know that
the
we're
applicant
prepared to-
knows it's going to be a chain link fence and
I
they
don't think
want
he
to
does.
commit to that at this tonight, then it should be vinyl coated. If the applicant wants to leave that open, then I don't know how we.
I like
control
brown because brown blends with all seasons and seems to blend with, and I think based on what I know of the building, it seems to
It's brown.
blend. Yeah.
I
But-
think you should put in. This should be the same, similar to the building. The same color like the building. That blends in, no?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Are you comfortable, Isaac, with a vinyl coated brown chain link fence?
I'm thinking I should make it the same color like the building.
Yeah, I don't know that they want to commit yet
I'm
to
not
the
sure
type of
which
fencing.
what kind of fence I'm gonna put, but it should be the same color like the building. And we also we spend a lot of money, as you see. The building should look nice. We also want it should
Mhm.
blend in.
Well, other than chain link fence, what other possible
Yeah, I don't know.
materials are you thinking of?
Wood?
It could be.
Vinyl, wood, a
Oh.
wood fence, like
And then
porches.
you'd have to stain it. If it was a wood fence, you'd be staining it the same
And
color
painting
Yeah,
it.
like the building.
Right. So I think if we make it contingent that it is similar in color to the building, I'd be happy.
As long
with
as they
that.
don't paint the building red or crazy.
Well,
Oh, the building is.
I suppose it'll blend then.
That'll be a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just can't imagine a wooden fence at this
I
point. I
can't
mean, unless you
either.
have a stockade fence, because any other wooden fence would
Yeah.
have too big
And
of
how would it have
slats.
a return? It would be strange. I'm picturing chain link.
It'd be too heavy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know, are we prepared to require him to specify the type of fencing at this point? I don't know that we
I'm
really
okay
can.
with leaving it up to the building inspector, and I
Yeah.
think the applicant's proposal to make it match with the fence color, or with the
Yeah.
parapet color is fine with me, but that's my opinion.
I'll go along with that, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
So the fence shall be similar in color to the building exterior?
Yeah. And
It shall
Gary,
blend in.
what's that?
It shall blend in. The fence shall blend in with the building.
Okay.
Well,
And-
some things can blend that are complementary colors. I think what the board wants is that it's similar or the same color.
Yeah,
Okay.
substantially similar. Go with that.
You know, you're getting very close to defining something that may not be practical, because, you know, depending on what color this is open to interpretation, what the fencing company can actually match compared to what the facade of the parapet is. You know, I'm willing to leave it up to our building inspector's discretion if it's, close.
Yeah, I'll work with them.
Yeah. Well, I think I can live with substantially similar.
It's still subjective.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It is.
I think usually black is a color that the eye goes right through,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's something
Yep.
that can be
Well,
matched
with vinyl
almost
coating
in-
fencing, it is. If you have a wooden
Black,
fence, I
black
don't know.
vinyl's almost disappears.
Right, and at the same time, black kind of goes with almost any color when you put it side by side, as opposed to a red or a green.
Can we just say black? Okay, take a vote quickly. Anthony's for leaving it to be more generic language of close to the color.
Well, we don't know what kind of colors the fence company can produce.
Yeah, or what kind of fencing they're going to have. So, what do you want to do?
Well, without knowing what kind of fencing, I'm not going to pick a color.
Okay. So you want to go with substantially
That's
similar?
good.
You want to go close to the color of the, and are you saying close to the color of the parapet or the building itself?
The parapet, I'm assuming, matches the building, right?
The parapet, the moldings are white, and the rest of the building is brown.
We don't want white.
So why don't you say that it would be a brown fence, similar color, or black vinyl coated,
Right.
chain
I'm
link?
good with that.
One of the
I'm
two.
good with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lisa? All right, we're all shaking our head yes.
Yes.
Mike, that sounds good to us.
The other condition you need to make sure is in the final resolution is the one that the board spoke about relative to the egress restriction on Forest Avenue for right turns only.
Yeah.
So we need to have the plans modified, and John's aware of that, with both signage and striping. And once we have that plan, I'll coordinate it with the highway superintendent to make sure that he's good with the details, and that'll be right turn only.
So signing of the plans will have to be conditioned on
Well, if
your
it's in
approval
his-
of that.
Yeah. if
It'll
it's-
be in my report, but I'm just letting you
If
know.
it's in the August 1st letter, then the first
Okay.
condition
It's
is,
It's in my comments, so I'll just letting you know that I'll double check that with the highway superintendent.
I haven't seen those comments. Are they in the packet?
No, these are just draft notes. I'll have them.
Okay.
If you have them on next week's agenda, if not, I can just verbally put them into the record.
Okay.
Depends if you want to deal with it tonight.
Everyone's going to be here next week?
Yes, we'll do it next week.
Yep, we can do it next week. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it at workshop is workshop, and regular meeting, we just take action, we get it done. And so hopefully regular meeting will be quicker.
So I will add something into my comments relative to the fence. And I've already got comments regarding the sewer note that we worked out with John. And I have my comment about the restricted right turn only at Forest Avenue. So Mike includes that in the resolution, my review sheet, and that way they'll all be resolved.
Okay, so before we move on from the playground issue, not to beat a dead horse, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Is there anything else? Because I know Gary and Lisa, you had your concerns. Are you satisfied, or do you want to have further discussion?
On the
Playground.
no, it's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Mary.
Just in case a playground, for whatever reason, can't be supported on the roof and then determines that whether it's safety
Yeah.
or structural, I feel that they should then come back to us with some kind of alternative
Yeah,
location. if
it's a good
that's-
idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if they can't put it on the roof, we're going to have to come up with an alternative location.
Right. So if that could just be a condition, if it's not able
Good.
to be met on the roof,
Very
they
good.
need to come back to us.
Smart.
Makes sense.
Yep. Okay, I was just looking at Mike's revision of the resolution. Are we ready to move to that, or no? Mark, was there anything else you wanted to discuss before we move on?
Because I'm taking notes and I'll get
Yeah.
it back out.
Mark, was there anything else we should discuss before we
Nope.
move on?
That's all I had in my,
Okay.
my notes.
So Mike, I was taking a look at this, a couple of things. One, Noreen, you have to confirm that the referral was made to KJ.
Okay.
It wouldn't have been by you, I think it would have been before you, but we need to make sure. Mike, do you remember seeing that or working on that?
No, I wasn't involved in it, but I assumed that it was done because I put it here. I don't know where.
Yeah, so I wasn't involved in it either, and I just want to, yeah, okay. So the other is, in specific condition number 2, I know you were taking this from Mark's language, says
Yeah,
the
I think
detail.
maybe we're gonna change that to certificate of occupancy where it says the plan shall not be signed.
Number 2,
Yeah, this is the playground equipment.
details of the construction of the roof recreation area shall be subject to the approval of the building inspector. Yeah, we're going to beef that up.
Yeah, I'm looking at the old one.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm confused.
Yep.
Or unless I'm looking at the wrong one.
No, I think I was looking at the old one.
I have July 31st at 3:06 p.m.
The last one I have that he just sent me with the red stuff on.
What's the date of yours on the first page?
July 31st, 3:06 p.m.
Okay, good.
Similar.
Okay.
Take mine.
I didn't. Mine wasn't from my packet. I printed it out before I came. Okay, yeah, that's the one in the packet. Okay, cool.
Yep. And I'm gonna add to that, that the fence shall be substantially similar brown, or substantially brown, and is substantially similar to the building exterior, or a vinyl coated black chain link fence. And then if the rooftop playground cannot be built, the applicant must return to the planning board for approval of alternative playground equipment.
If the code enforcement officer
Yeah.
determines that the rooftop playground cannot be constructed, they'd be required to come back
Yeah,
to the planning board.
yeah, in alternative location.
And I think it was a substantially similar color to the parapet, right? Or the building? No, the building. Or brown or black.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
Michael, you put in chain link fence language?
It's
no,
an
that's
option.
No,
one of the
because
alternatives.
we were leaving that open to you.
Just so you have an option.
Okay.
Although we don't know what the option would be, honestly, but maybe there's something out there that I don't know. On number 4,
Yeah.
you were number 4, Mike, where again, I was looking at Mark's language. I think something's wrong. So the plan
Yeah.
shall not be signed until receipt of a letter from the planning board attorney certifying the satisfactory easement for the sanitary sewer force main serving the project and crossing the lands of others. I think the word
Yeah.
main shouldn't be where you've got it.
Yes.
You've got it before crossing,
Yeah.
and I think it should be after sewer force.
Yeah.
Is that right?
This is both, I think there's 2 conditions from what Mark had. I'll fix that part. One is the town approving so they have access. The other is the right to travel across private
Correct.
lands.
Well,
Correct.
number 3 was the town certifying the satisfactory easement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second was, regarding the crossing of the adjacent landowners.
Okay.
Correct.
But I just think the word main was out of place there.
Yes, thank you.
And then I saw where you put the fee for the engineer's review in number 9. But I think, so the other comment Mark had was that the testing and demonstration, in 7, that language was supposed to be part of 6 also. But I see you sort of put it in 9 as well. The question is that clear enough that testing and review applies to,
Well, originally it was in each of them.
right?
But then we had these varying amounts specified for each. I thought the idea was to move the inspection fee part to a separate condition that was a catch-all for all
Yeah, and
of
that's
that.
fine. That's fine. But then the testing and demonstration with regulatory requirements shall be completed before a CO. When you had that sentence, part of that sentence, in 6, 7, and 8, it was clear what it was pertaining to. Having it in 9, is it still clear enough?
how about review and construction inspections of, instead of the project, say, the pump station, water system, and force main connection?
In 9, you mean?
Yeah, right
Test-
now it says of the project.
I would just
It does
do-
not, oh,
I think I had looked to have the testing and demonstration
Right.
sentence
Six.
both at
In
the
both
end of the
places.
sewage
that's what
pump
I'm
station
saying.
and
I'm
the
not
water
talking,
system.
right, I'm on
Okay.
the same page as Mark. I'm not talking about the first sentence in 9, I'm talking about the second sentence.
You'll add it to number 6 on your new list.
Right.
And
And
seven,
take it out
right?
of 6 and 7,
Put it in, it's in 7, put
Right,
it in
okay.
6.
Yep,
and it doesn't need to be in 9.
got it.
And it has to be an 8. Although that's only a design. Maybe it doesn't have to be an 8. I leave that up to you. Mark?
So we'll move it to 6, it's already in 7, and then 9 will just cover the fee.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 10? And I know you know this one.
That's the
Narrative date.
Yeah.
The date of the narrative.
I don't know what it is, but somebody will have to let me know, okay?
Okay, Noreen, try to figure out what the last date is, confirm it with me, we should be able to figure that out, and we have to get that to Mike.
Yeah, if you can get it to me as a PDF, then I can just attach it,
Right.
and make sure, then we all know we're dealing with the same one.
Yep. Oh, and then the question was, Mark had brought this up, because you previously had a paragraph in there regarding the parking, and Mark's point was that the parking was already gone to the ZBA, and the
Yeah.
normal required amount was reduced to the 39
That
spots.
and
Do we
the
need to-
shadow parking is no longer part of
Right,
the plan.
so do we need to have any statement about parking in here, do you think?
Well, we referenced the ZBA decision,
Yeah, we do,
and it's gonna be attached.
right. And so to me, that probably covers it, although when I saw Mark's changes, he was leaving in a part of your paragraph.
I think it was reminding me of what happened.
Yeah, I was just,
So you're okay with the not addressing the issue at all because it's already in the ZBA decision? Okay, good. And that was really it for my comments.
Now, I'm gonna add a condition based upon your discussion that, and I don't know when we're gonna do it, but authorization from Sherry Torre to plant screening on those adjoining lands has to be delivered to the planning board before the plans are signed.
Yeah, but let's talk about that now. We were going to talk about what screening, and maybe we can hammer that out now. How large of an area are we talking about You guys
Length
have-
of the property, which is probably,
on that side? Yeah.
that one border is 228 feet, and you may want to put a little return.
and then the
That's
width,
it.
the width of that, does it give a width of that little edge of the rectangle there?
No.
No.
Can you see from the scale though? Got your little.
Approximately.
Looks about 40, 50 feet.
Anthony's thinking 40 to 50 feet.
Yeah, I mean, you may just want to put a staggered row of
Yeah, I was
evergreens
gonna
in.
say
Right.
offset.
You know, I
yeah.
think the key is if you identify where it's supposed to go, that it's a double row staggered, and you want a height of the evergreen planting, that should be enough.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, if you
Okay.
want, I don't, Ward might be able to help us if 6-foot spacing or 8-foot spacing leaves enough room for,
Depends on the species. Like you go arborvitae, a lot of them are very narrow, and some of the others, if you go with pines, they're gonna be wide, so I don't know what you're gonna.
Can we stagger with 2 species?
That would be nice.
You generally, what you do
everything
when you stagger 'em, you offset, you do an offset row staggered, and if it's 10-foot spacing, generally you step back between the rows half, but then add an extra foot. Rule of thumb, you need it when they start to grow, otherwise they end up,
choking each other out.
yeah, so you need that extra. So it's, whatever your spacing you have, divide that by 2 and then add another foot. That'll give you a row, you're just between your 2 rows, your offset rows.
Is 10-foot a good spacing?
It depends on what you're doing. With
Okay.
arborvitae, probably a little, well, since you're doing a double row, it's probably adequate, yeah.
Okay, so signing of the plans would be conditioned on receiving the authorization letter from the adjacent landowner and a plan that is acceptable to our planning board engineer
Well, they're coming back next week, so do you think that John could
Are
add
you
something to the
okay with
plan?
reviewing that?
I have no
On that
problem with it.
timeline?
If you give me guidelines, I can.
I have
can-
mentioned 2 species, so arborvitae would be one, what would be another suitable species of evergreen?
That's a good question.
Could we do white pine?
White pine is.
It grows fast, but it comes out in storms, right?
Besides it, it'll overtake the arborvitae.
Right, because it gets really
You need
full.
something that's more compact than that. You're gonna do 2 species.
Anthony, what's that thing in my backyard that's next to my deck?
That's arborvitae.
The real tall, that grows really, that's the arborvitae?
Yeah.
Okay, that is good, okay. What else?
You're at the, okay, arborvitae, you also have junipers, you got the narrow junipers, you've got, so.
What lasts in a storm? I mean, I know a lot of these, when the storm comes, they come out of the ground.
Well,
Right
we're
here-
also talking deer resistant, right?
Yeah, well, the arborvitae isn't all that deer resistant.
Arborvitaes are they're pretty reliable. They're pretty tolerant of a lot of wind.
Okay,
Some of the junipers, what I recommend some of the junipers is they have a really good tap root, so they take an awful wind abuse. So if you get something like that.
will they spread too much to be next to the
No,
arborvitae?
they generally do that.
Okay, some
But
sort of
there's
juniper?
a multitude of varieties, so.
I don't know,
Double row, 10-foot spacing, 1 row arborvitae, the other juniper,
go with it.
and then we'll go with the spacing 6 foot out between the rows, so it's half plus 1.
That should work out well.
And that makes sense.
But you need to see a plan. You don't want to do this with words, right?
I think that's
No,
what
it's
we're
gotta be on the
proposing.
plan.
If they can get it, can you
I
get
can
Mark
still
something
have it this
before?
week, and
Okay.
I will make sure to send it to Mark Essel.
Okay, and Mark, you're okay with reviewing it on a short time frame?
Yeah, I mean,
It's limited,
it's a very minor scope of what I have to look at, and I just want
Right.
to get this application closed out. We'd
yeah.
certainly
Everyone
have it.
feels comfortable with that plan, Ant?
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone's good, Lisa, Mary? Okay, yes.
So Mark, just to make sure, 2 things is missing from the plan. One's the planting and then the right lane only.
The right turn only and the plantings should be added, and the approval is going to have the condition in the resolution for the fencing and the sewer note, which John has already. So 3 items to be added to the plan.
Okay.
And John can send it to me as a PDF. I'll just double check it. I'll report to the board next week, and he can send the PDF so you can put it up on the screen
Okay,
and show that he's accomplished all 3.
okay, so it doesn't have to be a condition in the resolution then?
No. if the
But you're
plans
going
are-
to
the
update
letter
your
needs to
list
be-
of plans,
It'll
though.
be in my comments, and if it's already done, it's already done.
But your list of plans is going to have that other revision.
It is often the case that the list of plans at the night you approve it, if you have a condition that requires the modification of plans, will not be the ones on the plans you sign. But if we have plans, I can insert the new date
I'll
next
get
Tuesday.
I'll get Mike
for
the
your-
new dates
Yeah,
if
I would like
it
it.
happens between now and next week.
Because it gets awfully confusing. I would love to have a resolution that
Be
actually
much
had the
better
real.
that they have the right.
I'll work with
Yeah.
Mike on the date.
Yeah, and at that point then, so would all the pages of the plan be redated at that point? Or is it just the one that he's submitting by?
Depends on how the engineer does it, right?
Sometimes they put a revision date on every sheet. Sometimes they only put a revision date on what's changed. I have no
Okay.
problem either way, as long as we know what's.
But really, the ones I should be signing then would be the June 16 plans, but for the one page, that will be the new date,
Right,
unless he
that's how it's
redates
done,
everything and
yeah.
submits a whole new set.
Whenever you have a resolution that you adopt and ask for revisions to be made, there's going to be a new date when you sign it.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that's the problem. But
I know.
if we have the plan done before next Tuesday, it'll have the right date.
that would be great. Shoot for that, Isaac.
Okay.
It would be nice. Okay,
Michael, the letter from Charatoy is just a normal letter?
authorizing,
Yeah, that they authorize the improvements to be made on your site plan on their property.
as shown on the plans that you're going to give Mark.
And I shall send it to you.
Get it to Mark too.
Okay.
But specifically say in the letter, as shown on the plans dated, whatever.
Okay.
So that way it's real specific.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have changes to the resolution? No comments? Any other issues? Okay. All right.
Getting real close.
And Isaac, I really urge you to have John Atzel call Mark if he has any questions, so we can
Yeah,
get it right and
make
turn
sure
it
tomorrow
around
morning.
and
Yeah.
be ready to move on Tuesday with the resolution. All right. And Mark, there was nothing else from your comment letter, the August 1st
No.
comment letter?
Nope.
Okay. Great. Okay, Isaac, you're also here on Glenwood 2.
I'm going away and I'm coming
You could just sit there.
He's the Flash.
Okay. All right, appearances, please.
Good evening, everybody. Kirk
Hello.
Rother
Hello, Kirk.
and Mr. Walter. Would you all like to talk about playgrounds?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
So, last month, I think really one of the only significant items remaining on this was the question of playgrounds. And I took the particular question at hand to be pretty narrow in scope, and that is, are the size of the playgrounds adequate for the number of students proposed on the property?
Is there a state code or something that governs this?
So I spent quite a bit of time researching this on the net,
Okay.
and was unsuccessful in finding anything particular to New York State. I called New York State Department of Education, of which there are many departments,
Yeah.
particularly the P through 12 department, which I believe is pre-K through 12th grade. They put me through eventually to facilities planning. Facilities planning eventually put me through to their lead architect, who I actually don't know if that's a state education employee or a private person. I left that gentleman a very specific message about what it is I'm doing, and what I'm looking for is there a minimum square footage per student, and I didn't get an answer back. So having said that, and Mark and I spoke about this a little bit, I did find other states that have some standards regarding it. There was a standard for playgrounds for military bases with their barracks and that type of thing, kind of a playground area. And then there's all types of recommendations with every imaginable group you could picture. So the standards I saw varied from, I saw one that said 65 square foot per student, several were 75 square foot per student, and the military one was the highest, which was 100 square foot per student. So, that's my report back on that.
And how many students are we talking about? Refresh me.
So now having that information in hand, what do we do with it?
2,000.
Well, there's 2,000, but the
But
thing
not
is,
at one
they wouldn't
time.
know, there's 9th through 12th grade, they're not
Yeah.
gonna be using the playground, and then plus there's a swimming pool, which I think, when we measured it, that's almost another 11,000 square feet almost between the pool and the areas around it. So what I did is I took 1,000 kids, which is grades 1 through 8, they're all in one building. And we have a 10,000 square foot playground area now. And if you put 75 square foot per student, 10,000 divided by 75 is about 135 kids. So at any one time, using the 75 square foot per student number, you'd have 135 kids potentially on this playground. So then I said, okay, if we had 1,000 kids, we had to get through this playground. How long would it take? And if we gave them 15 minutes apiece, we could do it in about 2 hours. 20 minutes apiece, you can do about 2.5 hours. And that's it. I don't really know how else to slice and dice the question that was asked.
Mark, thoughts?
It's difficult because lack of guidelines creates a problem, but I think if you look at it from the standpoint of the existing school has been functioning, no reported problems, and they are doubling the number of students, doubling the square footage of school, but they're tripling the playground area. Clearly, they're making an attempt to provide more playground area. So, if the board felt comfortable with the original playground, clearly you're getting more with this application. We can drill down further to find out if there is some state guideline, but I didn't obtain one, and Kirk didn't hear back. And then the other flip side is how far do you want to get involved with the layout of the playground?
Yeah.
Here, you're not talking rooftop, so there's not the same safety issue. I think here, the safety more relates to making sure that it's contained in the fenced area, so there's no chance of the students getting conflicting with vehicle traffic.
Right.
As long as it's fenced in and there's appropriate gates, I think it's a safe,
Yep.
it's a safe environment. We've already asked them on the turning radius of the road between the two schools to put bollards in, so that if someone did lose control, it would be a sizable obstruction, so that it wouldn't just go drive through a fence and get onto the lawn area. So I think we've taken some appropriate actions. I don't know. I don't know that it's a problem also because you've got an existing playground, and I think there's room even on site to add more if they need it.
Members, I guess.
I'm good with it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
Anthony?
I'm thinking.
Okay, Mary?
As you said, you have twice the number of the students, but you increase the size of the playground
By
three
three
times.
times, yeah.
So I think we're good with that, or at least I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm. And Lisa?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Gary? You said you were okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I think I know the answer to this question, but are there any organized sports?
No.
Do you have any trails on site?
Trails, what do you mean?
Like, could you do something like a nature walk through the wetland, passive recreation?
Yeah. Could you? Yeah, I just don't know if, I'll let you answer. From the engineering perspective, I'd say sure, why not?
Say again the question?
Trails on site for
No,
walks? For walks. Okay.
I mean, right now, the playground is paved, no? If I'm recalling correctly?
Yeah, but we're not proposing grass.
First of all, all the kids is not playing at the same time. It shifts. Some girls going that time lunch and they're playing. Some kids going that time lunch, and it's whatever. Not everyone goes at the same time. Plus, the teachers want they should be in one area because they want to watch them, not do crazy things. And
The reason I asked about the trails, this is just my personal view, is, between classes, if an older student wants to go for a walk and get some exercise and breathe some fresh air, I think the playground would be very limited to do that.
they walk around the building.
Okay.
They have like 600 feet to walk around each building.
No, I absolutely agree with you, but I suspect if a trail were built, it wouldn't get used.
Yeah.
They would rather walk around the building. Just my observation of.
It's funny, I'm thinking back to my school days, and you had the playground for the younger kids, and then you had an area for the older kids to congregate on their own time. Is there, and wasn't necessarily a fenced-in playground area, but just a separate area for older kids. Is there an area like that could be set aside, or is that not something common for your community, for your students?
I don't know if the board recalls when I know we've touched on it in the past. When school is in session, this whole place is gated.
Right.
They close the gates right at the entrance to at the
Right.
fork. So really, from that point back, the older kids can
It's the whole area you're saying.
use the whole area to just walk around and hang out, and do what teenagers do.
Okay.
I have no further comment.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so are we all feeling comfortable with the playground that's proposed, which is now 3 times the size that it was for half the students?
Yes.
Okay. And Ann, how about you?
Comfortable for me is a strained word, but I could approve that.
Okay. All right. Lisa?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, Mary?
Fine.
All right. Is no one going to ask the hard question to make me the bad guy?
Whispering my-
I mean, we just talked about how many students per area for a playground's appropriate, and we just passed over this on the mikveh without even asking the question, and now I feel like the bad guy's saying, well, what about the mikveh? you know, what is the size of the space for the playground for the mikveh as compared to some of the guidelines he just, and I don't want to be the bad guy here, I thought someone else would say it.
But I
But-
think the mikveh is smaller kids that are probably
It is
gonna
smaller
ride
kids.
little
Is that different
top cycles
guidelines? I
and-
mean, did they have an age for these
I would think you
guidelines?
would
Like I
have
said-
different guidelines, like a nursery school, you know, small kids like that.
I
The
don't know.
kind of things that are in their playground are smaller compared to older kids, so
The guide, so I didn't find any official state guidelines. And then if you go to, playground manufacturers, and obviously they want it to be as big as possible.
Yeah,
because
obviously.
they want- So there's lots of information on the internet.
This would be a perfect place where if we had the master plan for the
Yeah.
school, it would answer the question that we've been told verbally, that the mikveh school operation is not intended as a permanent operation, but more or less a temporary overflow operation, which at that point, you might be able to sacrifice having the best scenario and just say it's temporary in nature.
Is the mikveh still seen, is the master plan going to tell us that the mikveh is still sort of a temporary solution as you have overflow transferring?
Yeah, but we can only use the mikveh for small kids. Basically, the woman starts to come sometimes 4 o'clock, and the building needs to be empty. So
Yeah.
we can use it temporary, but only for small kids.
The older kids have a longer
The
day,
kids
is that what you're
must go
saying?
home latest 3:15.
How many kids in the mikveh school? Just refresh me.
It's 18 classrooms. I think we're talking about 300 kids.
300, or under 400 I thought it was. But
Yeah, whatever. I don't remember.
Certainly the playgrounds you see at young kids' daycare centers, they're often outside play areas, they're tiny.
yeah, I know.
You know, they take turns using them, but they are small. It's a very different need, I
Okay,
think, what Mary
all
was
right.
saying.
And I know the minutes are going to be a nightmare now because I just went back from Glenwood back to the mikveh. I'm sorry. I just, it's out there. I can't just put it back in the bottle. All right.
All
So
right, and this one thing too, this is
Yeah.
a temporary situation
I don't know that it's temporary.
What do you mean?
as far as the classrooms in the mikvah? Is that permanent?
It's permanent. It's not temporary. It means which girl is going to be there.
Explain that because they don't understand what you're talking about.
We're planning to use the mikveh 18 classrooms as an overflow. Sometimes we need it for girls, sometimes we need it for boys. Depends for which we need it, but we're going to use it for overflow. Sometimes it's going to be their girls, and sometimes some years going to be their boys.
So in the first instance, my understanding is in the first instance, the little girls that are in the trailers would be moved to the mikveh.
Yes.
And then the trailers would be used for the overflow of boys.
Yes.
As the
But-
girls get older, they might go to Glenwood, and then the overflow for the boys would be moved to the
Yeah.
mikveh,
Then we move
and then
it
you would
away
get
to
rid of the
trailers.
trailers, hopefully. Or
That's-
maybe you,
that's- whatever, that's our plan.
yeah.
Isaac, could you confirm the age group you're talking about for the mikveh, just so that Mike's
The-
included in the resolution?
The oldest age that would be at the mikveh.
I will email that to you, but because I want to make sure.
It may be in the narrative, I don't know.
I think in the
Is that-
narrative it says, but
If it's not, we want the narrative revised to
almost
reflect
sure
the oldest
narrative
age.
has it, but I will confirm that with you tomorrow. Yeah.
Everyone got that? Revise the narrative to reflect the oldest age. And that's on the mikveh, right?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
so sorry, Noreen. Yeah.
I think they're bad now, what do you say?
Yeah.
Just-
They're not.
For what it's worth on Glenwood in our narrative, we're pre-K and older.
Okay. Okay, so our position on the mikveh, the playground, has not changed, is what I'm hearing, but we do want the narrative to reflect the oldest age, and that's the mikveh. You're okay with your narrative because it already reflects the pre-K through what?
Yeah.
Through high school.
Through high school.
Doesn't get lost.
Okay. And I'm hearing that we're okay with the size of the playground. And I'm on board with that as well, so, okay. What other issue do we have?
No, just for what it's worth, the 75 square foot that I kind of chose, the reason I chose that was that, if my memory serves me, was from the state of Georgia. So
Oh.
it was actually a state standard, so that's why I used that.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
here last month at the
No.
workshop?
No.
So we spoke extensively last month about the conditions of the approval with regard to the wetlands.
Yep.
And I think the last meeting we had where you were present, we were saying that the condition would be receipt of the jurisdictional determination. I did my best to convince the board out of that condition last month, and I think I was successful.
Yeah. What I have here is making production of the delineation condition before issuing a CO, but not a condition of signing the plans. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Right.
And
I
it-
had it as before signing plans. You're saying before CO now?
yeah.
Right, but it was a condition of approval that the wetland markers and the construction fence would go in before any construction
Yes.
began.
Yes. Yes, wetland markers and construction fence before issuing the building permit is a condition. That's what I have in my notes. My notes aren't always right, though, but that's what I recall.
I have that too.
Okay.
Similarly, we wanted to see construction fencing marking the area near the future county right-of-way to make sure there was no incursion into that area. I have that in my notes.
Okay.
And you wanted to have a sign that warned of no encroachment into the
Yes.
limit of disturbance. So wetlands to be marked before building permit or plans are signed?
Hold on.
Before any construction begins.
Wetland markers and construction fence before issuing building permit, that has to be a condition in the resolution, yeah. And then the other, the production of delineation, before issuing a CO. The jurisdictional determination, right, yeah.
The reason for that, Mike, is we've submitted it to the Corps, we've done the walk with the Corps, and it's
Right.
just now a
Could be a
waiting
while,
game
yeah.
to get this
Yep.
letter, and
Yep.
it's gonna have no effect on the plan.
Did we discuss the buffer area with those markers or just the wetland area?
I'm putting the markers at the buffer area.
At the buffer,
Yeah, so Mike, make sure that it says that.
Okay.
so we need to add that buffer.
Yeah, actually, I didn't submit new plans, just save a tree, but on these plans I have here, we've already made those revisions.
Okay.
I think how we dealt with this before, Mark, wasn't it, we asked for compliance with our, what we'd like to see the code include, our proposed changes to the code include on the wetland policy.
I can send that over to Kirk. the
Yeah.
draft.
Does this one require a Monroe wetlands permit?
No.
No, there's no
I don't
incursion,
recall.
but you still want markers.
Phase
Yes.
one did, which the
Okay.
board issued.
Mm-hmm.
This one, we're greater than 100 feet from any designated wetland.
Are there areas where we want carcinite markers?
I believe the board wants them at least
Yeah.
along the project side of the wetlands at the buffer. I don't know if it's necessary to put them on the far side.
No.
So who
Um,
owns the property on the far side,
Far side.
opposite?
Far side buffer would actually be off our property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so, yeah.
I
So
mean,
it's
as
on the
long as-
wetland side of the buffer.
as
I mean,
long as-
project side.
Trying to look for the north arrow to find out which side. I guess it would be the west side. Northwest side of the wetlands would be fully marked out along the buffer.
And Mark, you've confirmed that no wetland permits needed here?
Yeah, they have no construction
Right.
even near the,
Northwest side, you said?
the northwest side of the wetlands would be marked with the markers.
Okay, anything else? Kirk, any questions?
No
I
man.
think, Kirk, you were gonna make some minor corrections to the SWIP. Is that done as well?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Could you just send that over to our office for review so that I'd rather have that resolved rather than a condition.
No problem.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, you're free.
See you next week.
Yeah, yeah. Next week? What are we doing next week?
I'll have a resolution and you'll act on it, I think is what Kirk is asking.
The question is whether, okay, so will we have time to, depending on whether you get it to us early enough and we
I
think
can
we
get a
can.
resolution out tomorrow.
Okay, then yes. Then we can review it next week.
Okay. You don't need maps though, do you? I figure you guys
No,
see
I'll-
this plan in your dreams.
I would be happy with just getting the revised SWIP in, and then my list of minor cleanups on the plans could be in my report, and it would be a condition of approval.
Okay, so let's talk about just procedurally, because Mark and I have been talking about trying to make sure our meetings are streamlined, and workshops are workshops and regular meetings are regular meetings. We get the draft resolution in that we've never seen before. Are we going to be holding up a regular meeting trying to work through the language, or should we really be saving it for our workshop?
Whatever you think. You're right. I mean, I had sent you a copy of the most recent resolution for the last phase, but no, you have not seen the resolution
Mark,
for this one.
thoughts?
I just have notes.
I would suggest that you circulate the resolution, and if the board members can look at it in advance, you can act on it. If you don't feel you've had a chance to look at it, may get kicked. But I think you're
Yeah.
pretty familiar with this site by now.
Yeah, I mean, look, so you haven't been party to these conversations. I think I've mentioned it before, but I'm really trying to make workshops, real workshops and regular meetings where we're only having things where we're ready to move and proceed. So we're really just looking at something, taking the vote and passing it or not passing. So along that line, the hope would be that we can streamline things and move the process along better. So that was my thought, and I suspect that members probably would be happy with that, as I know applicants would be, so they don't feel like they have to come twice every month just to hash over the same things over and over again.
I have a suggestion. If you make him the last item on the agenda, and then if the board needs the extra 10 minutes to sit down and read it, because I'll tell you, my printer at home died, so if I could have a printed, if Mike would have the printed copy, or Noreen would bring the printed copy here, and if we make him the last item on
Yeah.
the agenda, I think I would feel comfortable taking 10, 15 minutes,
Right.
reading it, and not holding up any other applicant, and
There's
that
not
the rest
much
of the meeting
outstanding
could move
here.
faster.
Okay, Anthony?
Yeah, I like the idea of streamlining the meetings. I think it could be very difficult because there always seems to be something that has to
I
be
know.
corrected, and then waiting an entire month to do that, as opposed to the next workshop. It's very tempting to, put it on the next agenda just so you can expedite it and
Right.
get it out, and be done with it. So I like the idea, and I'd like to try to stick to that as possible, but I just think there's some benefits.
Okay. All right, so Lisa?
So you're saying that we should vote on this resolution next week, as opposed to making him back to the workshop and
Yeah, we take a stab at it at least. Try to see if we can review it and get it done next week.
Yeah, I think what Mary said about
Okay.
not holding anybody
Okay.
else up makes sense.
All right, and Gary?
Same.
Okay, good. So yeah, Noreen, put it on the last item.
Made it up.
Good. Okay. Anything else? Isaac, you got something?
He said, when can I get the SWIP? So when to Mark, right?
Okay. All right.
Say the bubble.
You making him commit?
Want it on the record.
Okay. Isaac, you're here on one more. Sherry Torah.
I'd love to stay and support you, but
And I don't know who the engineer would be on that, who it was way back when. Do you remember? I don't.
I'm not sure, but anyways, I need to take a new engineer for that.
Okay.
It looks like
I
Peter
think
Zaki
Peter
Fowl,
Zaki,
if you look
yeah.
at the
Oh,
old,
so maybe it was Mark Seamers.
if you look at the
Okay, I-
resolutions.
No recollection. Okay. There you go. All right, let's see. Hold on. Let me just find this.
Good
Thank
night.
you,
Good night, Kirk.
Kirk. Okay, hold on. All right, so we're on now.
Should be the one right on the top of your file.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Have the certificate on top.
Yep. Okay, so this is Sherry Torah Religious Schools amended site plan pertaining to the temporary trailers, the schools that we have there for the little girls, and the temporary trailers. Isaac, so the reason why I put this on the agenda was, over the past couple of years, we've been very concerned because these are temporary trailers, and I was under the impression, based on the resolution that I had, and I didn't have the certificate of occupancy, but I had the resolution, and I was thinking that it's a 5-year running from the date of the resolution, which was 2012, so it would be expiring this year. You pointed out, I think, that the certificate of occupancy talks about it expiring on August 5th, 2018, because it was running from when the CO was issued, CVO was issued. So that's really the discussion that I wanted to have tonight, to make sure that, first of all, to get Mike's, take on this, and I guess Mark's probably as well, and then talk about your plans a little bit. So, Mike, have you had a chance to even look at this stuff?
I didn't know what purpose it was on, but I think the condition is not specific in terms, it says 5 years, but it says the approval was granted to operate a religious school. And I think in fairness, that meant for a period of 5 years, which
Yeah.
couldn't start until there's a CO.
Right.
I think that's the fairest way to read it, because
So there's another year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't disagree.
So tonight is good on my side so far.
So far, you're looking good. Yeah. I am, I was confused because then Noreen found the different resolutions. So we've got one from May 8th.
It was actually 3. There's one, May, I only have 2 here. Here's May 8th, there's September 5th, and then there's November 12th.
And they're all,
One says amended on it.
okay,
So I grabbed the
but the
original
condition
and
is
then
always
amended.
the same, right?
right.
Yes.
To that
as far
extent-
as Ben and I could figure out when we were doing it today, because I couldn't find it at all in my paperwork.
Where's the condition?
I had all unsigned ones.
Yeah, the signed ones would have been with Mary Ellen.
Right, and she wasn't there when I was talking to Ben, because I figured
But
he'd be the other
Ben got
one.
them for us.
Yeah, so Ben got them for me.
Where's the condition for the 5 years?
I think it's here.
Oh, yeah, specific condition 1, duration of 5 years to operate a temporary religious school as requested, the approval shall have duration of 5 years. Oh, yeah. All right, so that's condition 1, and then the next one,
And that's September 4th, 2012 amended. I think that was the most recent.
yeah. Well, I only have the 2 here. Where's the other one? Do we have the other one here?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I grabbed the one that said amended.
What's
and
the
then
latest one?
November 12th, or 19th, 2012.
That is the
It
latest
says
one?
amended, yeah, that's as latest
Okay.
we could find.
Yeah, so it's still 5 years. So I think in fairness, it's 5 years from the date they're operating, which is when they get the C of O. And that's certainly how Ben was interpreting it. Anyone, any member want to comment on that or have a discussion? I mean, I suppose one can argue that Ben got it wrong. I don't feel like he got it wrong, though. I don't know.
And in
Yeah.
any event, they do have a CO that lets them operate until that date.
Yeah. Yep. Mary?
Yeah.
Lisa? Anyone disagree? Gary? Okay.
Gotta go with the official document.
Okay. So, Isaac, you're looking good so far. That being said, we've had this discussion before. You're now a year away, just about, right? So, we had talked previously about the master plan. And for you out there in the public, we're not talking about the master plan, the comprehensive update to the town master plan. We're simply talking about the applicant who suggested and offered to give us sort of a plan, a written plan, describing what their needs were for their school system and their children. Not requiring them to commit to deadlines or dates, but just a generic sort of conceptual plan of what their needs are and how the schools will be used to satisfy those needs. How is that going?
I have some draft ready. I tried to call you last week. I want to go over to you before I'm presenting for the board, but
I was on vacation,
yes,
yeah.
so I want to stick to your rule that next meeting is only action. So let's shoot it for the workshop meeting.
Okay, so you want to get that to me and we can go over it
Yeah.
quickly together, but
We'll
then
do that.
put it on for the workshop in September?
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Get
And
it to me as soon as you
hopefully
can.
the next month or two, I will come in for Larkin. We have a few things, but we want to go over the wedding hall, pools. So then we're gonna go for extension for the trailers too.
Okay, and so when you say Larkin, you don't mean Larkin Drive LLC, it's a different
No,
project, you mean
no.
the Larkin Drive
Larkin
schools?
Charlotte School.
Yeah, okay, and I think what you're talking about, the banquet hall in the
Yes.
boys' school,
Yes.
right? Okay, yeah, and that'll be all part of the plan?
Yes.
Okay, all right, any questions, anyone?
Can we do some repairs on the sign by the entrance to the
Yeah.
trailer park, or trailer school?
The Larkin Drive school, the sign, what do you want?
The address on the bottom is.
Down on the bottom, it says Sherry Torah School, and most of it's missing now.
Yeah, we had required on the sign there to be English translation of what it is,
The
and
St.
where.
Charlotte School,
It was supposed to have the address, let's say it's,
23 Larkin.
right.
Yeah.
There's a number, Larkin Drive,
English.
Territory School.
So we'll add the address. That's what you.
I think it was there, but it's
It was
it's
there, it's
damaged.
just the sign is
Plowed.
damaged.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll make
Yep,
a
just
note
fix
to
that.
Fix that.
Yeah, plowed or mowed or something.
Yeah.
It hit it.
Yeah. And remember to please anticipate a site walk. Okay, Mark, do you have any comments?
Nope, I look forward to seeing the master plan.
Yeah.
I think the key is to list all the facilities and what occupancy they have.
Right, capacity.
And then sequentially indicate what development is proposed and if the student population is to be shifted. That's
Right.
really the goal, so that
Yeah.
the board has an idea where this is going.
Right, right. So we have an understanding. I mean, in the past, you know, the difficulty we've had in understanding what your intentions were and our concern that these trailers were going to end up being permanent. Hey, look, if that's your plan, then you need to tell us.
No, that's not my plan.
Okay, and then if not, then you're going to tell us that. But it pertains to all the schools. So the trailers, the mikveh, Glenwood, the two schools.
And Larkin.
And, oh, yes, and I'm sorry, Larkin,
Thanks,
yes. Okay, great. Anything else? Okay,
Good night.
good night.
Good
I
night.
think these guys you want me here or?
Good night, Isaac.
Good night,
You're
Isaac.
welcome. Okay. All right, the next one up is Walmart.
You're sleeping.
I know. I try to move it along. All right, we're at 9 o'clock. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Remind me about the timing issue. Okay, good. Great. Hi there.
Getting better as I get used to it.
Yeah. Okay, just put your appearances in for the record, thanks.
I'm Sarah Baker. I'm here on behalf of HFA representing Walmart.
Good evening, Rob Osterhout, Bowler Engineering.
Okay, and Sarah, can you just say that again? Because that was fast and not in the,
Sarah Baker. I'm here on behalf of HFA representing Walmart,
okay. And you are architect, attorney?
the architecture firm.
Okay. Great. I just need to open up a new sheet for you. Hold on, bear with me here. I'm challenged.
You want purple?
Okay.
Probably have pink in my purse.
All right. So, this is the first time seeing you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us about your project?
So I don't know if you're familiar with the online grocery pickup service that Walmart is rolling out. What we are doing is establishing that for them. Essentially, the service is where you can go online, order your groceries, you select a time slot, show up to Walmart, park in a designated parking spot, call a 1-800 number and tell them which parking spot you're in, and they deliver your groceries to your car for you. That's all we're establishing for them. essentially involved in that process. We add signage, some branding, parking spaces that are designated to this, a canopy to provide protection for the loading and unloading of groceries. And then there's some internal work, but that's not under this jurisdiction, so.
Okay, all right. George, can you hear her okay?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, great. All right, so here I have the picture you submitted. Hold on, I lost my mouse. There we go. Okay, so, all right, so this is the, I guess, northern side of Walmart, northern facing side of Walmart, right?
I'm gonna play Vanna White here, just orient everybody to what we're looking at here. So you've got Larkin down here, you've got the existing Walmart facility here. So the improvements that we're talking about making are right up here at this corner of the building.
And that's Home Depot right in the middle.
Correct, Home Depot right here. Yep.
And that's basically gonna consist of a canopy going up over there, that, over the concrete pad?
Yeah, so, if we look at the, picture here of the existing, facility, you can see here where there's a hatched out pavement area. So it's paved today, it's just, striped out. What we're talking about, for improvements would be convert that, hashed out area to parking spaces. We'd be adding 8 parking spaces.
I don't know that it works on the screen. You can try.
It works on the
It
screen.
never works on the screen.
Yep. So we'd be converting that hashed out striped area to 8 covered parking spaces for the online grocery pickup. 6 of those 8 spaces would have a canopy over them.
Okay. Is there a different plan that I should put up to show that, or?
The second page should have the canopy on there.
I would love to. Hold on.
I don't know whether,
You
when I
can
transferred, I don't know
No,
whether
you
it
do
does
it on
the
that
page.
screen.
Okay, thank you.
And you can see the page
Gone,
down on the
yep,
left.
I've
There you go.
gone. Where's the
Keep going to
page?
the top of the toolbar.
Oh, thank you. Yep,
And then
yep,
you
I
see
got
it
it.
on there.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, perfect. So,
Okay.
again, here's the image of the site, and the blow up of this area off to the side of the screen here.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Okay. So this shaded area that you see here would be the canopy. And then the other 2 spaces that are not covered by the canopy would be down here towards the east end.
Feel free to pick up that microphone and talk right into it.
Okay.
Would that
There
work
we
for you,
go.
George?
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So again, right here, the shaded area that we see on this exhibit would be the canopy. And then the other 2 spaces that I mentioned for a total of 8 would be down here. The improvements that you saw on that last slide relative to the signage and the paint on the wall would be on this corner of the building here. The canopy is shown
Oh,
right
yeah.
here. It's an arched canopy set on 4 columns that are spaced throughout the parking stalls. These parking stalls are wider than typical parking stalls. They're 10-foot clear from line to line, and then there's a 2-foot striped area between each space right here. So that's intended obviously to have some greater width available to load and put groceries in either side of the vehicle. With that, the canopy, it's a nice feature in my mind. It looks nice. It's not just like a shed roof or something. It's got some nice curves to it. Got some nice colors to it. There's lighting under the canopy, downlit lights, because obviously that canopy would shield any of the existing lighting that would be out there on the site. So there's some additional lighting under the canopy. And like I said, we're essentially converting existing paved area to this online grocery pickup parking area. The access for the groceries that would be delivered to the vehicles that are queuing here is over here. And then there's a ramp that comes down right here. So that access to all those spaces is via this area that you see right here.
That's not under the canopy, though.
That's correct. It's partially under the canopy.
And what's the thought behind just covering 6 spaces as opposed to all 8?
It's a cost issue for Walmart.
And the material, the roof, that's a steel roof, or,
No, it's a fabric canopy.
Oh.
and what's the life expectancy of that?
The life expectancy, I couldn't say, but I want to say it's around 5 years.
So that would have to be maintained.
Correct.
How's it handle snow load
Yeah.
They're engineered for snow load and snow drift
for this particular zone?
for this zone, yes.
And how would you protect the columns for the canopy from vehicles vehicles striking that?
So we've got, like I said, a very wide parking stall at 10 feet, and then there's a 2-foot area between each stall. So those columns are located within that 2-foot area.
And do they go around the perimeter of the canopy? And how often do you have the columns? Are they every space or
Yeah,
just at the
there's
corners?
actually 4 columns that would support the canopy right here. So they're every other space. And they're located a little bit like maybe the third point of the towards the front of the space.
So you'd have columns at the back, front end, and a third up.
So there's just one row of columns.
Oh, okay.
Only 4 columns total for the whole canopy.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh.
there's a cantilever of that canopy.
So wait, only 4 columns?
That's correct.
So is your depiction with the car and the little person incorrect? Because I see a lot of columns.
So what you see in this exhibit right here would be the columns are 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh.
And then these intermediate vertical elements that you see here are the signs.
Oh.
That indicate which parking space you're in.
I see.
And provide the information that Sarah had mentioned where you can call in, say, I'm in parking spot 4, and they'll bring your groceries out.
I see.
Yep.
So no one's getting out of their car. They're bringing the groceries.
Correct.
Okay.
The your employees would be bringing the groceries out to the car.
Correct.
So they're the ones that have to walk from the store
Out to the car, yes. So
out
the
through
canopy
the
is
weather,
primarily to
out
protect
through the
the
weather,
employees.
and then across through the weather, so people's groceries are getting wet all the way along. Okay.
They have a mini canopy over the cart.
Over the car, right? But
It's a
not
little
over the
umbrella.
groceries. The other thing would be that the slope you have on the roof of the canopy. I have a feeling that snow is going to be sliding off of that onto each
Onto
side.
the person delivering the groceries.
Yeah, and then falling into your grocery bag.
Do you have this working in other places?
Mhm, we do.
How many?
I,
I mean,
have no idea how
I
many
mean, have you
there
been
are.
doing this for a long time?
They've been doing this for a year and a half. So
Any in
yes.
the Northeast?
In the Northeast, yes.
Any in
where
New York?
I have this in many, Newburgh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. My other planning boards have all had, every supermarket is doing this now.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
great idea. Don't get me wrong. It's a great idea.
In
New
fact,
In- New
I'm
Windsor's
told
just-
that if you go into a supermarket these days, you see more employees shopping than you do regular customers.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just tell you my little story. So there's something similar to this in Ludlow, Vermont. Not Ludlow. Actually, it's in Rutland. And we're parked. And it's a warm day in the winter, and the ice has built up on the little canopy. And the warm day, the sun hits it, and the ice breaks off and slides right onto the car, my car, as it's pulling out and cracks my windshield. I would just be a little concerned about the curve there. Although I don't think it was a canopy. I think it was actually a metal roof, which heated up. But so I don't know what the
Either
difference
or,
is.
it's still gonna.
But that happens. That could happen. I'm a little bit more concerned about the person walking, seemingly in the path of the ice coming off the canopy in my creative mind. But I guess you've got this all over. This is how they're designed, huh?
Yes.
May I ask a question?
I don't know, can't she? I suppose,
I don't know, I don't
so.
usually do.
I don't know. Go ahead.
With these canopies, are they required to clean them off?
I would
I
Or
believe
they
it's in the
just-
facilities maintenance, yes.
Okay. Because that's what I was thinking. Someone's
Yeah.
going to get bombed with the snow coming off.
Yeah. It's one thing with the rain too, but there's not a gutter on this, is there?
No, there's not.
I think
Or
rain
ice.
great, but ice no.
Or any of those ice dams?
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Interesting. You said lighting. So where is the lighting for the canopy?
It is up underneath the canopy.
Yeah, so you actually wouldn't see it because the way this canopy arches, it's up underneath that arch.
Mm-hmm.
We do have
Matt?
Sure.
something that we can share.
And And what are the hours of use for this, that people will be
24.
driving up and getting there? Oh, yeah, look at that.
I honestly do not know for this location. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Do some locations have
Has
like
it
3 o'clock in the
down?
morning, you
Okay.
could come pick
Actually,
up
let
your
me hit
groceries?
Anthony's
I'm not
You
privy
don't-
to that information.
okay.
They haven't rolled out the operation specific to the store yet, so I couldn't tell you. I have not seen a 24-hour grocery pickup available, but I don't have an answer for that.
Did you submit that picture with your
No, I did
materials?
not.
Okay.
I have multiple copies if you guys would like.
Yes, please. I was going to take a picture of it. That's better.
It looks like the canopy extends over the walkway from this perspective.
That's right, it does. That front
Here, you
area,
can keep
Thank
going.
you.
is for the drive aisle, it does, it extends over.
All the way over, or does it?
The majority, it's just about to the edge of that. Oh, I'm sorry. It extends over the majority of it, just about to the edge of that, walkway that's marked on the plan. And that's shown on the plan where the limits of the canopy.
Do you know where this picture was taken?
No, I don't.
Can we talk about traffic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
That's Home Depot right next door.
Right.
Correct.
And I shop at both places. And now you're going to have more traffic coming because this is 2 ways, right? It's not like you can go straight through to the back. You're going to have people coming in and going out. And you also have the traffic from Home Depot because people are parking right there. And you've got, I'm just a little concerned about the traffic in that area. It seems a little tight. I'm going to have to go out there and look a little bit closely and, you know.
Which leads to one of my questions, just to verify, maybe Rob can confirm. My understanding is that there was 10 existing parking spaces that you're replacing with 8 wider spaces. Is this row of parking already exist?
No, there is no parking there today, Mark. It's strictly a hatched area, so there would be 8 new spaces.
Because somewhere along the line, some element of the submittal led me to believe that there was 10 existing parking spaces that were being replaced with 8 wider spaces. So,
Okay.
in fact, there are no parking spaces here,
That's correct.
which led to my second half of the question was dimensionally, what is the aisle width between the back of this pickup row and the adjacent parking row? Because we want to make sure that it's got adequate maneuvering space.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And I also think where the Walmart area is, I think it's rather flat there. You might need some ballards there or something like that.
For-
I think that's fairly flat over there, like where you said right now it's hatched out.
Yep.
I don't remember it being a very,
There is a curve there.
there is a curve there, but I don't think it's very high. I'm afraid sometimes too with people, you know, backing up. And like I said, I think traffic's kind of a concern on my part over in that area. I just think if somebody's going to be backing up and then they don't pay attention and they hit the gas and they don't, you know, they might jump over that curb. I'm just concerned maybe with some ballards there as well.
Toward the store?
Towards
side?
the store, yeah.
We think alike. I question having, especially in the front area where you've got an open area versus the building wall.
On the front area, the signs that are posted up there, do you see this? There's 1, 2, 3.
Which plan sheet are we looking at?
I'm on
The
SP1.
site plan?
SB1.
Yes.
And
So
what am I on here?
Oh,
the
it's this one.
stall markers themselves, the bases are ballards.
So they're concrete-filled structural bollards.
Oh, that one?
The other way.
Oh, I was there.
Mary, did you hear that they are concrete-filled
I
metal
was there.
bollards?
Okay.
Okay.
So right here.
So they serve 2 purposes.
Okay.
How did you arrive at 8 spots, or why not 10 or 12? And how do you manage people who would queue up into those spots who all arrive at the same time?
Walmart bases that on their sales. They do all that math internally, and I'm not allowed to know those algorithms that they use.
That's a black box.
It's a secret. It's a secret. What about, what I was thinking, the flow of, truck traffic coming around? Don't the trucks access the back coming through that path
I'm
and
not
are
sure
back
about
around?
that. I'm not sure.
So, with
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the, one of the Walmart, loading areas, at the back corner here, and then the Home Depot, loading area here. Truck circulation is around the outer perimeter of the site here. So we're in an area where there's very limited parking. And every time I've been out at the site here, I know this area is used, but it's not extensively used. It's primarily this front area here. I haven't seen any significant traffic over on this side of the facility.
Now, you haven't been at Home Depot's lawn garden sales.
Yeah,
You're
like,
right.
yeah.
It's the other guys, come on.
Yeah.
But again, that's another drive aisle over here, where we would be separate from that, with our location.
Are there signs currently directing the truck traffic in that path? Was that a requirement? I wasn't around back then. I don't think so. So do we know trucks don't actually go down that center aisle to get easily to those loading docks? It would be hard for them to turn probably there.
It would be, and as a,
Well, not really.
you know, as a truck driver with these types of facilities, you know, they always try to stay to those service roads, the outside roads, because they don't want to get into the parking lots where there's more congestion and everything. So that's really the reason why we design sites like this, to have a ring road or a perimeter service drive. So does it happen? It may. I don't know the answer to that specifically. If it does, I would assume it's pretty infrequent. It's not necessarily intentional, but
So so Walmart, and that, remind me, the entity disclosure form, we have to talk about that pertaining to Walmart. But, so Walmart owns this property? Yes? Okay.
right.
Home Depot owns the neighboring property? Do we know?
I
I don't
don't know
actually
that they're
know who
all
owns it.
fee ownership, some are tenants.
Right.
I can't,
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know that there's signage directing traffic, but I would be concerned if there weren't, that I would not want trucks, if this is going in, I wouldn't want trucks going down that middle lane to access the loading docks. I don't know. I can't imagine why anyone here would recall whether there's any signs or signage, but
Yeah, it's not like the Target site where there's a specific sign that says.
right. We
I-
have
I
that up
don't
top.
remember seeing, yes, not.
I don't know that I would remember that, frankly, so.
I think there's one on the upper side, left side of the parking area
Yeah.
that says truck area, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Are we gonna have a site walk?
Yeah.
Yeah, if the board wants one. Does the board want one? Lisa?
Yeah, I had a question.
Oh.
I'm looking at this one where it says 12 by 20, and it's numbered, there's 2 1s and a 2. I think it's the second page, probably the first page. Is that just the sign, or are they gonna actually do construction and add to the building
That's just a prototypical example of the sign.
of what the sign will look like? So is there gonna be any construction other than, like, placing this canopy? Looks like it's not really constructed as much as put some posts in.
Correct. That's all.
And then the door, you're gonna add a door? or
The door's
just-
already in existence.
The door is there, okay. And then do you have a time frame as far as if, like, customers won't be able to go in this area for a few hours, or this will be
As far as
down
how
for
long
a
the
week?
construction will take?
Yeah, yeah,
Typically, when they go to put the canopy up, it's done within 1 day.
okay,
It comes predominantly pre-assembled.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so we usually require of applicants submitting a narrative which describes the use, the hours. So I would suggest you do that. That'll give us a little bit of insight on how it works. Just describe basically what you just described verbally. Put it in a narrative, but add to it the hours of operation. I don't anticipate it has to be very long, but give us something. And then, so I was asking Lisa about the site walk. Are you interested in the site walk?
Yes.
Okay, Mary?
Yes.
Gary?
Sure.
Anthony?
Yes.
Okay, yep, me too. So, we'll need you to schedule, coordinate with Noreen on a time when we can go out there with your project manager or whomever you think is appropriate to walk us through how this is going to be laid out and work. And Mark, you'll be coordinated with that. Mark, you have any comments, questions?
Just general about the submittal package. There's a lot of information. We got 11 drawings, and probably 80% of the drawings are beyond the scope of what the planning board really reviews.
Mm-hmm.
A lot are probably pertinent to what Ben is interested in seeing.
Right.
So I may want to work with Rob on kind of reworking the set, so maybe the first couple drawings deal with just the site plan issues. I don't have a copy of I thought I did, but I don't, of all the wonderful color submittal items. They seem to have more pertinent information that's easier to follow than maybe what's on the plans. So we may want to work with Rob to boil this down to just the site plan elements, so you're more focused, and pull the building related items out of the set and should the board approve it, then Ben will deal with it.
I do like having a picture like this on the plan.
Yeah, I mean, these representations show a lot of information, and maybe we could have a site plan and have them as secondary sheets. And I had some preliminary comments dealing with the sign schedules. There appears to be more signs in the schedule than I believe are really pertinent to just this, I guess it's called a OGP pickup. I also posed the question, maybe we can get an answer tonight. Are there other pickups at the facility? Do people come in to Walmart and there's another pickup area?
They have an in-store pickup for the same service where you can go in and check in and pick it up in-store and carry it out to your car yourself if you do not wish to drive.
I'm talking about picking up a TV or picking up an air conditioner.
That's in front of the Walmart. I've seen people
So
at the
there's-
main entrance, so to speak, on the
Because
opposite
I can
side.
see someone coming in that they got the call that their TV's ready to pick up, and all the signs that are presented just say pick up.
Well, usually.
So I'm going to pull up on the side and expect my TV to be carried out the side
Right.
door as well.
Right, but what I
So-
usually see is an employee comes out to the very front, but I can understand your point very well, that somebody says, oh, that's got a nice canopy over it, and
it
it's
just
raining, let
says-
me go pick up my
it
TV
How
over
does
just
there.
Walmart
says
deal with that?
Pickup.
Yeah.
It doesn't say OGP pickup.
Currently, the pickup service and the online grocery pickup, which is the OGP, are two separate services for Walmart. They are housed and managed and maintained completely separately within the Walmart corporate offices, so they cannot work together at the moment. They are working on.
So how do customers know which to do?
When you order it, it'll tell you. You pick up your order in store or drive up to the canopy and pick up your order for groceries. It's specific to that.
So it's just groceries. It
Does the
can't
sign
be-
say groceries only?
Outside?
Someplace?
No, because their goal is to merge them, but that has not happened yet.
So until it happens, is there going to be a sign that says groceries only?
Outside? No.
How come?
Why?
That's a question for Walmart themselves.
Okay, maybe you can ask them.
I can ask.
Let us know.
Okay, will
Okay.
do.
And then,
Or at least in the narrative,
Yeah.
have them address how
Address
they're
that.
going to
Sure.
separate general pickups from OGP pickup. If in long term they are going to blend it and have all pickups on the side, so be it. But at this point, I think
Right, but at this point they don't. So how would you educate your consumer to know which way to go?
It's in the ordering process when they order online. It
So-
clarifies where you're supposed to pick it up when you place your order.
so. I think that's just a narrative item.
Hmm?
It would be a narrative explanation, I would.
Yeah, put it in the narrative. We'll see if it flies.
Okay.
does the grocery entail anything that would be purchased in the grocery part of the store?
Correct.
So it could be laundry detergent, like when you talk about television, you don't know if someone's gonna be doing their online shopping and have
Right.
actually
Right.
occasion to go to two different places, and, they're gonna make one trip to go pick up all their purchases.
Right. Correct. But you can pick up your grocery order in store as versus outside. So rather than pulling up here, if you're going to pick up your TV as well as your grocery order, they can both be picked up in store at the same time on the inside option versus pulling up to the outside option.
Just solely
Yeah.
use classic groceries,
Yes.
really groceries.
So do you know if in the future when they combine this so you can pick up groceries or other
TVs.
retail items like TVs, if that would be combined in that area, or you can get one or the other. And then if that's the case, would you have to expand this area to accommodate more traffic?
I couldn't tell you anything about that. That's
Have they combined it anywhere else
No.
yet?
No, it's still completely separate at corporate.
Everywhere.
Yes.
So they may be back.
Well, that would,
They may be back if they're looking to expand it when they
well,
merge the
that would be a
operations.
note that I would not want to lose track of, that we make sure that if they're going to combine it, they come back.
I don't know that it's, if they want to expand it, they have to come back, but I don't know that you would care if they pick up a box of CD-ROMs.
They
Oh,
may have
no.
to
Carry
change
out the
they
sign.
may
No,
have
I
to change
don't.
their
I'm
signage,
thinking of,
though.
I was thinking of large scale items, you
Yeah.
know, that, to make sure
Yeah.
that this would accommodate that.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, I lost my mouse again. Where are you? No. There we are. Yeah.
I have two comments. I think there's been a determination that this requires site plan approval. If it does, it needs to go to the Orange County Planning Department, and it requires a public hearing. I think this is within 500 feet of Route 17, right? Or is it not? If it isn't, it doesn't have to go.
It might be within,
We'd have to verify. Very likely be within 500 feet
It
of
may
17.
be, yeah, it's gonna be close if it's not.
The property for sure is, and that's what you go by. Because the property extends out to Larkin, and I would think.
I don't know if there, I thought I heard that theirs is a separate fee parcel.
A what?
That Walmart actually owns the square where the store is. I didn't know that to be the case, but that's what I heard.
That was my understanding, but.
Yeah, I know that
Was
one of
your-
the stores is in fee ownership. I don't remember which one.
We did not submit a copy of the survey that we have as part of the application package, but we do have a survey. And the Walmart building is located on roughly an 18 or 20 acre parcel, I should say. That parcel doesn't quite front on Larkin. It has a small access strip that's about 115 feet deep or so from Larkin to get into the parcel. But I think it's safe to say that we have a parcel within 500 feet of Route 17.
it might also be with Woodbury.
Yeah, I think Woodbury's line
Woodbury's-
actually runs right through the
Yeah.
store, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's
the
correct,
parking
yes,
lot.
there is a municipal
All
boundary
right,
line.
so that's
runs
tied to
through
the
site.
public hearing.
But you're talking about referrals, so it definitely has to be referred to the county.
Yes. And once you pick the public hearing date, then at least 10 days before that, it has to be sent to Woodbury. With the notice of public hearing has to be sent to Woodbury.
Now, is that a mandatory public hearing?
Yes, under Baton Rouge Code for site plan, yeah.
Okay, now, can it be waived if there's,
Under the present code, there's no waiver authority for site plan public hearing.
okay.
So the question is, is this ready to be set for a public hearing or not?
Don't know yet. Hold on, I'm still taking. Mark, I'd be interested to hear what you think on whether the site plan that they're showing us here is ready.
It's not a complicated issue, so they've got a lot of information here. Matter of fact, I believe they have too much information. So it's just a matter of, can we boil it down to the necessary items and have those plans ready for the public hearing? And that really goes back, if Rob and I spend a little time on the phone together, how quickly they can turn around a revised, smaller set of plans. And I don't know that there's a lot of new information to create, maybe some additional dimensions and clarifications, but if you want to authorize the public hearing subject to revised plans being received in a form that, I can verify is functional for the public hearing, I'm comfortable working on that. I've worked with Rob before, and we've always seemed to accomplish such goals pretty efficiently.
How does the board feel? on that issue, yeah?
And if they're not ready, it would just be kicked to the next meeting.
I'm okay with that.
I agree.
Gary? Yeah, I
Yeah,
am.
I'm fine. I would like to do the site walk as quickly as possible. though,
That's
so we-
true. Before the public hearing.
It's a way it's off. September 12th would be your meeting because of the way, you're meeting on the 1st, so your second meeting is the 8th, and you got a long string until you meet on the 12th.
We were on the 5th.
That's the
We have a
workshop.
workshop on the
Oh,
5th,
right, sorry.
and then a regular meeting. What's that, Mike?
The 12th, yeah,
Regular meeting on the 12th.
right.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question, because it may factor into that
Uh-huh.
timeline that we're talking about? Under section 5719E of the code, it states the planning board may, when reviewing a site plan for a change from a permitted use to another permitted use in a particular district, waive the requirements for a public hearing. So there is a waiver provision, but are we saying that it's not applicable because we're not really changing our use?
It's up to you. It doesn't really sound like a change in use. I guess it's an
Yeah.
adjustment of your use.
Yeah, I'm not trying to split hairs, I just, if there's
If
no
you're
need for a
comfortable with
public
not
hearing,
having a
it
public
factors
hearing on
into
that basis, it's fine with me. Frankly, I think there's a good argument this never required site plan approval because it didn't exceed the thresholds, but that's neither here nor there.
I can't imagine, there's no new use here, it's just a reorganization of the outside parking area to provide another function for the same use.
We're not
I think
losing
it-
spots here, are we?
But this
No,
is a
you're
new,
gaining.
there's no existing spaces that are being replaced here.
No.
And I
No.
think to Mary's point, with congestion, now you're introducing more spots to that corner of the store.
That's true.
That would be a public concern.
I think that's, I agree that it needs site plan review, but I'm more concerned about having the board go look at it than necessarily having a public hearing. I think
Well,
the
then
board,
maybe we should look at it and then decide to have a
Right.
public hearing.
Because we could decide at our workshop in September if we're gonna have a public hearing.
Not
'Cause
enough
we-
time then.
No.
Not to
enough
get
time?
it in for September 12th, no.
No, you'd have to go to October.
Yeah. I mean, my gut kind of says right now that I don't know that we really need a public hearing, but I'd like to walk it first.
Because we'd have to send it to the county.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
We can send it to the county while we're
That's true.
right away.
Couldn't we do that? Send it to the county?
Sure.
So that way we don't hold it up, and then if we determine we need a public hearing, we can proceed, and then if we don't, we're still good.
Okay.
That works.
I think it's very important the board go out and take a look at it, because
Yeah.
your concerns will only be resolved if you
Mm-hmm.
go out and look at it.
And we may just all decide, public hearing probably not necessary, or we may decide it is, and then we're ready to go because we've already sent it to the county. There's no downside to sending it to the county, is there?
None? We have an EAF?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
sure.
I'll prepare the form and ask you to send it to them. Or you're gonna do it?
No, we have to.
We're gonna,
We-
well,
we-
it has to be on our form, yeah, okay. We're
But we
gonna
have
need
to
an
send
extra
it.
set of the plans if you don't have one, an EAF and a
I
set
have
of
a
the
couple
plans.
sets.
I think it not only has to be informed, but we have to send it, don't we?
Yeah.
That's what they're requiring now.
Yeah, I don't think they always care who the courier is, as long as
Oh, really?
it's sent by the planning board, meaning it's been signed and authorized by.
Yes, okay, got you.
So
Okay.
Audrey, if I understand Mike correctly, it's our discretion to determine a public hearing?
Well, that's what Mike, I think let's just make sure we do understand it. Based on that code, if we determine that this is not a change of use,
No. The section that Rob referred to says if you change from one use to another use, a hat store to a shoe store, then you can waive the public hearing. Is a change in, Walmart's not changing what they do,
No.
they're just allowing some part of their operation to have customers pick things up on the sidewalk. In a way, that sounds less worthy of a public hearing,
Right.
but it may not fit the language exactly. But if you're comfortable with it, I have no problem with using that language to waive the hearing.
Let's look at it first.
yeah, and then we'll decide.
I'd
So-
also be interested in finding out why they never had parking spaces there on the original approval.
Yes, I can. Actually, this was designed what they call future-proof. They left it there ready for the online grocery pickup when they were ready to add it.
Ooh, smart.
And what's it called? Feature what?
Future-proof.
Future proof. Ah, catchy. Okay.
So I guess what we have to do is determine whether there's enough distance between the back of the new parking spaces and the front of the existing parking spaces. That would be on the, what is that,
North.
the Home Depot, is that Home Depot?
Home Depot, yeah, side. Whose parking is that? That's Walmart's parking, though, not a Home Depot's parking.
That's correct. It's Walmart.
Yeah, Home Depot.
I'd
Okay,
like
so-
to,
But Home Depot people use it.
Yeah.
So it would be from the front of your existing parking spaces to the back side of the new parking spaces. We need to make sure we have enough room there so people can move in and out. And obviously, you're gonna have to back out of the spaces you're creating, so that might mean an increase in space or distance between what you have and there. The other thing real quick is, when we go out, I'd like to see something possibly about concrete bollards around your columns on your canopy.
Oh, the canopies.
Even though you only have 4 columns to hold up the whole thing, you might need some bollards there so people, when they come in parking, all excited about somebody bringing their groceries, they're not gonna hit it. And you say you've done these many, many times before. I guess it's the employees that bring out the groceries that really take the brunt of the whole ordeal. I didn't look at the map earlier, but how long are these parking spaces? The length of the new parking spaces created?
20 feet.
20 feet, okay. All right.
If they're 20 feet, I would then pose the question to you, if someone's delivering groceries to one end of the row, are they really going to be walking, carrying the packages behind the cars? Because if these don't have wheel stops and they pull right up to, I don't know if the can pull up over the sidewalk or not, what's going to keep them from pulling up too far and not allowing enough room for the staff to traverse along the front?
Yeah, along the front. The intent would be for, I can show you right up on this plan here. The delivery door, groceries would be brought out this door, down this ramp, and then brought to the back of the vehicles here, or in through the side doors, through these 2-foot strips here. So the intent is not to bring those groceries out along the area between the parking stalls and the building.
So they really walk behind the other vehicles to deliver.
That's right.
So they just got to be quick if someone's backing out.
What prevents them from walking in between the building and the canopy?
There's a sidewalk there. They could walk there, but there would be a curb also for them to traverse to get down from the sidewalk.
And these orders are brought out on carts, so that's why they have the ramp that's added. So it would be kind of difficult to bring it around.
Right.
And
Unless
drop
there's
off
no
the
cart
side.
needed because it's a small order.
They're required to roll it out on carts for operational issues, otherwise you're carrying too much weight.
Well, unless it's a small order, then.
It's probably a minimum.
Well, people
Is there a
aren't gonna
minimum?
order like a loaf
Sorry?
of bread.
Is there a
and,
minimum
no,
order?
No.
No,
I
I'm
get
not
six-
aware if
I
there's a
get
minimum order,
three
but it's
carts
standard
when I go
policy
to
to
the
roll everything out on the carts.
Okay.
Are the carts, standard grocery carts or
No.
separate? Different?
So the orders are all put together in bins, and it's a cart that's made to carry the bins.
Okay, so this is all going to be in the narrative. So write it like we're 5 years old. Like you were going to explain it to your kid.
and use crayons.
Just what she's thinking.
And use crayons, yes. What's that?
Just what she's thinking.
Yeah. What's wrong with these people? Okay.
Rob, can you just work on just getting dimensions as quickly as possible from the building face, the sidewalk width, the 20-foot parking space, and the aisle width?
Absolutely.
Because the more we talk, the more interesting it gets.
Yeah.
Because if there is in fact two-way traffic there, now you're going to have these staff persons mobile,
Right.
I mean, mobile down through the two-way traffic with,
Right.
with
Yep.
Cars backing up
bin-
both ways.
carrying carts with two-way traffic and people backing out.
Backing up from both
So
directions.
hopefully there's plenty of width there so that,
Understood. Yep.
I think it's a great idea. I just got to understand further how the dimensions all work.
Yeah. No problem. We can check that out, and we'll have that information when we talk.
All right, any other questions on the plans?
Not now.
Ward?
Yes, maybe those carts ought to have, like, I noticed when the grounds personnel goes to retrieve carts. They have a flashing light they put on the front of the train of carts. You may want to.
Do the carts have the little flashing light thingy on it?
Not that I'm aware
You
of.
may want to,
Okay.
because anything that helps get someone's attention is well worth it.
I can
Interesting.
relay that information.
Interesting. Okay. For the more hyper-technical stuff, I'm looking at the entity disclosure form. Mike, I think this issue came up. I'd emailed it to you. What does one do in filling out the entity disclosure form when the owner is a Walmart with multiple owners and they have to represent that the owners don't have?
We sent it to Brian, and I think he gave us, I'll have to pull up his letter, he gave us a response to that, didn't he?
I don't recall that response.
Yeah, if it was one was about whether it's a publicly traded company where the owners
Yeah.
would be in, hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find his answer. He did answer the question. That's my
Okay.
memory. I'll find it.
Okay, and in looking at your entity disclosure form, it's the list of officers and board of directors attached. I don't have an attachment. Does anyone have an attachment?
I did see pictures of board members
Yeah,
on
it was,
one of them.
it might be kind of concealed behind an email. There was an email authorizing the application, and then behind
Yep.
that
Do I have it
email
here?
was the list.
Okay, hold on.
Everything that was paper published, they sent it all in one package very nicely.
Yeah, it's with the,
Yep.
That's the email.
This one.
Yep, that has all the pictures.
Yep, great. Okay. Got ya. Oh, good God. All right,
It's extensive.
all right. Do we know if the entity disclosure form with this list was sent to the town to determine whether they feel we've complied?
Yeah, I think
Or the
I'm going to
applicant
find
has?
these. There was this emails back and forth, I believe, with
Okay.
Brian's
So-
involvement over just that issue.
Yeah, I just don't remember it. And did they copy Noreen? Noreen, do you remember this?
I don't remember Brian answering our question on this.
I don't either.
Sorry.
But I could have missed it.
I don't remember getting a response on
I'll
Brian,
have to
and
look
I
at it.
didn't send any of this packet off to Brian.
Yeah, we got to really remember to copy Noreen on
I
stuff.
fixed that yesterday, but
What's that?
I fixed the distribution list just yesterday to Ed Noreen's
Yeah, I
email
just,
address.
leaving it to me is just fraught with problems, so, let me just see. All right, well, what I'm gonna say is, Mike, if you can check on that to make sure that we feel like we're on comfortable ground here and that we've complied with that requirement, that would be helpful. Anyone else have any questions on the EAF?
I have one EAF-related question.
Yeah.
And that would be whether or not this project is actually subject to a formal seeker review, because we believe it's a type 2 action. There was our initial submission
Right.
kind of clarified and summarized why we think that's a type 2 action, because we're under 4,000 square feet of improvements for
It's under 25,000
use.
I agree, even if it's a structure, it's under 2,500
Yeah.
square feet, so it's under it's under the 4,000 square foot limit, so. The 2,500 is our code, but for any structural construction under 4,000 square feet is a type 2 action. And this is certainly under that, even assuming the canopy is a structure, and it may not be. So I think it's
Yeah.
type 2 and exempt.
Mark?
I agree.
Okay.
So it's type 2, and if the board so determines, seeker is complete.
I don't know that we really need a site walk to feel comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with it. How about you?
I'm comfortable.
Yeah? Okay. Anyone not comfortable? For saying this is a type 2?
Oh, no.
Outside secret review? Yeah. I think we're all on board with that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I think we have a game plan. If you can, generally site walks are easiest for us if they are, late afternoon or on a weekend. Mark, how are you, with dates?
maybe we'll have Rob float some possible dates, and then we can all respond if he sends them.
Do we have any long vacations
Noreen.
coming up for members? Nope. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
When you say late afternoon, do you mean evening, or do you mean like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon? What?
Probably after 5.
After 5.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's preferable, frankly,
Okay,
after
just
5.
doing like a straw poll, is there any certain days that work better for everybody than not?
Thursdays are great for me. It's either that or any other Monday night or Tuesday night that's not a planning board.
Yeah, I like Tuesdays.
Tuesdays? Yeah. Okay.
Anyone?
Wanna do a Saturday,
And I'd just
Sunday?
be careful.
Or we could do a Saturday or Sunday, I suppose, but
I'd just be careful about making it too late if since the daylight hours are getting shorter.
yeah, but we're going to do it soon.
We will definitely do this soon. I'll
Yeah.
throw an email out to Noreen with some potential dates, and she can
Saturday
distribute it to
and
everybody,
Sunday,
I
how's
guess.
that, soon enough?
I can't do it this Saturday or Sunday,
Okay.
but I can do it next Saturday, Sunday, or I could do it next Tuesday.
Is that a
Although that's a
weekend?
meeting. We have a meeting. We can't do it.
Tuesday, the 15th would be the third Tuesday, which
The
generally-
third Tuesday.
which works for me, because the fourth Tuesday I'm tied up.
That's
Can
fine
you
for
do
me.
it Tuesday, though?
Fourth Tuesday, I have a meeting.
Is that
Tuesday.
tough with work?
What's that?
Is that tough with work, or?
Oh man, I got something going on, let me check.
And Lisa, what about your schedule?
Well, I was just gonna say, a weekend might show us more traffic flow, there'd be more people there, so it might, I mean, during the week is fine with me, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got you. That's true. I think it's always pretty busy, but
The next
you're
few
right.
weekends are going to be difficult for me.
Yeah, the next
Yeah.
2 weekends,
The weekends are tough. But although I think, frankly, we all know how bad the traffic is, but you're right. It's good to see it on a Saturday, I suppose, or
Well,
Sunday.
I
What?
mean, with the weekend aspect, I mean, I could go there on my own any
That's true.
weekend.
Yeah, you can
But
alter
for
that.
meeting us.
For meeting us and showing us, I think it can be done on an evening, and then we can go and take a look
15th,
after.
would you mind? You
Right.
want to Target 15.
Yeah, if you could look at the 15th at like 5:30, say.
Let's do it. I'm
Yeah?
looking at my calendar right now. Let's just schedule it and go with it.
Everyone's good with it?
Yep, rain or shine.
5:30?
5:30 work for everybody?
Preferably after 6:30 if it's okay.
After 6:30?
Yeah.
Oh. Can we do after 6:30?
I'm sorry.
I'm okay with it.
You can pick whatever time. I'll make it.
Anthony, you want to meet like on a weekend and just walk through it, and if there's any questions, I can pass things on?
Sure.
Discuss
Thanks,
things?
Gary.
I'm just asking.
Don't give him a pass. Jeez. All right. Should we stick with 5:30 or try to do it later?
I'm okay with 5:30 if that's Mary's preference.
5:30.
How about we split the baby and do 6 o'clock? I know what you're trying to do here, but
I know
6:30
what I'm
isn't even
trying
going to
to
work for
do.
you.
Because we're gonna have, it sounds like almost, we're gonna have a quorum from the sound of it. Do you advertise those meetings?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes,
Okay.
you have in the past, you
Look
should.
at that. It's a good point. Yeah, that's a quorum. We kind of have to. Okay. Yep. You're going to advertise that. We haven't had one with you.
No, that's what I'm like, oh, good, something new today.
Mike will walk you through it. Our secretary's new. She's learning.
Every day.
And I'm kind of new, so.
All right. We're all learning together.
What? Can you repeat the date and time?
8:15 at 6:45. Oh, don't give me that look. What's
8:15.
that look like? Wait.
Isn't it the 15th?
8:15.
August 15th.
August 15th. Yes, not at 8:15. August 15th. 6:45 p.m. Yes? I gotta move it along, people. It's like almost 10 o'clock.
I'm good.
Okay. Anything else?
I will try to work with Rob, so we might even have a draft set of the boiled down plans
For that meeting.
with 11 by 17, so we can actually look at them.
I don't see that as a problem, Mark. I think we can definitely do that, so, yep.
Make
I
it a
can
little-
even distribute them ahead of time so that they can be emailed out to everyone.
This is for informational purposes only,
Yes.
sending it to
Yes.
the record, right? And then posting what website, town hall.
Yeah, post it on the town hall
Cool.
door, send it,
And
put
it's
it on
the
the
time frame
website.
on that was like,
If you've scheduled it more than
Which
X
we
number
just
of days
did.
in advance, it's like
think it's a week.
Yeah, it's not a long notice.
yeah, I've got the code someplace on that.
7 days I have to look at the paper now.
Okay, cool. All right, anything else? You're done.
Okay. I just have two.
Oh, okay, you're
quick
done.
cleanup items. If you don't
Okay,
mind.
go ahead.
So at the site walk on the 15th,
Mhm.
we'll talk about whether or not the board feels a public hearing is necessary.
Correct.
Is that something you can actually determine that day, or is that something we have to come in for?
We
next
won't have the
workshop
ability to
for?
take minutes or notes, but how does that work?
You're talking at the site visit?
At the site, if we say, yep, we want a public hearing, and we take a vote right then and there, we say we want a public
Someone's
hearing.
gonna have to take notes and turn those into minutes.
And we can do it that way if we wanted to.
You can have a recorder.
That's true, we can take the recorder if we needed to, or I could just record it on my
Real
phone
quick
even.
notes.
You just record it on my phone. Okay.
Okay, great. And then county referral, I think where we landed with that?
We're
is-
referring.
Noreen-
We have enough
Noreen
plans,
can
we'll do it.
Send that
Yeah.
out. Okay, is there anything that we need to do? You said you
Well,
have extra
do you
copies.
want to wait for the revised plans?
There is, if you send everything you have now, it's gonna be more than they need to know, but they'll still have it.
Okay, so just send what we've got.
Send it all.
Okay, fine.
And what
Yep.
about Woodbury? Send it to
No,
Woodbury?
No.
well,
That's only
if you have a
necessary for the public hearing.
And then we would have enough time to send it to.
Yeah.
10 days before, yeah.
Is it 10 or 5?
I thought it was 5.
No, for the notice to the adjoining municipality has to be 10 days before the public hearing. You're talking about the amount of time you have to publish.
No, you said, okay, I took it down. It's 10. Maybe I took it down wrong.
10.
Okay, to Woodbury. And what about the adjoining property owner?
You're talking about the mailings now.
Yeah.
That's for.
Yeah, that's that. I'm sorry, right. Yep. Yep, I'm with you. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I've covered everything I need to cover, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, so unless you
All
have
right.
any questions for me, I'll let you go.
Nope, thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you both.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. All right, I've lost my agenda. Bald Hill. I didn't ask for the applicant to be here because I didn't think it was necessary. All we're discussing is Mike's letter, July 31st. I prefer to do this in an attorney-client session.
think that's
So I make a motion that we go into attorney-client.
I'll second.
Is Kingdom Hall here?
That's true. Is Kingdom Hall here? And you know what? They don't need to be here because we're just going to review the fact that, you know, what's on here. Don't worry about it. We can just do that quickly. We don't need the applicant here. So yeah, I'm taking a vote. So was Mary seconded it? Lisa?
Aye.
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 Okay, quickly. Let's get that. Yeah. Where is everyone? Oh, Gary's getting late. Okay, guys, we're going to go back on the record. Are we back on? Okay, returning from, motion to return from attorney-client.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Okay, Noreen, you got that? I did it. Mary seconded. Okay, we were in attorney-client on Bald Hill. I don't know if there's any discussion left to be had, so we can move on to the next item. Other than I can say, Noreen, please look through the filing for Bald Hill. There are, on your bookshelves there, your file shelves there, you'll find Bald Hill red wells. There might also be in that double secret closet we finally got unlocked. Bald Hill in there. We're looking for an environmental impact statement, EIS. Okay. Okay, moving on to Kingdom Hall. I've got really very little to say about this other than we got the letter from Orange County Department of Planning Department acknowledging us as lead agency. I don't know that there's any other discussion to be had on this one.
The only thing was the fact that they access Orange, a county road. Calumet Heights Road is a county road.
Okay, what about it?
And there was some discussion if they're going to be changing
Pull your microphone down.
that they're going to be changing the signage, if they're going to be changing any kind of water drainage that may be on a county road. We thought they would be interested in doing it.
The county, you mean?
Right, or be interested in knowing that that's going to happen. We haven't gotten an updated plan yet.
No. Nope. So when we do, we can address all of those things.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I wasn't there at that meeting, so that's helpful. Okay, we're moving on to administrative. Yet again, it is now 10:35, and I do not have the ability to do minutes. unless someone can tell me that they're ready to approve any of the minutes listed here. Have people reviewed the draft minutes from May 9th? I don't have them in my packet. Probably.
Oh, I forgot to bring an extra set for you. I forgot
Yeah,
you said you didn't
so I
bring
can't
that.
do anything. Is everyone else comfortable with May 9? Because if not, I'm pushing it again, but we can't get in a situation where we're really backed up.
Yeah,
So,
we did all
March 7 and February 7. Again, I don't have any of this. It's not in my packet, so I can't really.
March 7th, I was changing because they were the ones that you were away for, and I was supposed to be redlining. You had given us the
Yeah.
changes,
No.
and then we were going to go over them today, but I didn't bring a bunch of copies. I forgot that you said you didn't have all your packet.
Yeah,
But
everyone was
here's
supposed to bring them, but
one of each
I
of them.
okay.
I don't know whether that's all the changes.
How about this? Since we have our consultants here, let's skip the accessory apartment law. I wanted to talk about the implementation of the new law. Mike had his draft form, right? And we were submitting to the town board recommendations for fees and things like that. Did anyone get a chance to look at the form? You've had it now for quite some time. Any changes that people see? Basically, he structured it based on the law, sort of as a checklist of what people have to submit. Do I have that on my? No? Okay. All right. I actually didn't. I thought we were okay there. The fees that we're showing here haven't been approved by the town board yet, but we recommended.
We're talking about 250 or something like that?
Application fee $250, and then the escrow being $750. It would still be subject to the 80% threshold or whatever the town board ends up with and the code changes, but if they change it. No. Is that in everyone's packet? Or were they, no, everyone was
They
supposed to
were
bring
supposed to
that.
bring
Everyone
the
was
ones that
supposed to
they
bring
had.
that, yeah.
I was just bringing extras for you.
Yes, because I didn't have it, right.
And they were still in my packet, not your packet.
Okay. So if no one has, requested changes or comments, I think it's something we would submit to the town board. Do we have to actually submit? No.
No.
I mean, this is just something we can
Yeah, I think
decide
it's
to.
your own use.
Right. The only thing is that, I suppose, in their review right now of the code, their requirements could change,
That's true.
and then the form would change.
Although yes, it could. I don't think there's anything in the draft that I've seen that's aimed at
don't-
changing the accessory apartment law that they recently enacted.
Yeah. Right.
But we are asking them to reconsider the amount of the fee, and that would change on I think there's a dollar sign next to it, right? No?
Right. Right. Okay, so does anyone have any changes or comments to the form? Because I'd like to be ready to use something when the moratorium lifts. Sounds like we're good. Okay, so, while I would normally wait for a regular meeting for a vote, I'm just gonna make the motion now that we use the form as prepared by Mike. That everyone's gotten.
I'll second that.
Okay. We got a second, Anthony? Aye.
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 Okay, good. And we'll see as it goes, as things always are.
Tweak it.
We'll tweak as we go. If something's not working, we'll work on it. Okay, great. The other, where'd my agenda go? I think I buried it. What?
I was trying to write who was absent, and I couldn't remember.
Oh,
the
and
other
Rich.
names. Well, him I had, I just.
Okay.
I got Jerome.
Jerome,
The discussion of the application procedure, that was simply that our application is very long. You all should have brought that. Again, I don't have that in my thingy here. Oh, good. And redundant, and not the project opening form, that's new, and the entity disclosure form. But if you look at the whole application, which was in your packet last time or the time before, and you were going to bring, you've got requirements for submittals. It actually requires you to submit both a short form EAF and a long form EAF, which Mike and I discussed was not appropriate.
No.
And we don't have the Word version. I don't know where the heck it is. We never found it in the system. So essentially, in order to replicate this thing, we just keep on making copies. And so it's just, and
Cockeyed and everything.
yeah, and it's on the website, and it looks terrible. And so at some point, we kind of have to review this thing.
For the EAF forms, most applicants download the modifiable or executable PDF version
The-
that's on the DEC's
The fill-in
website.
PDF form,
So they use that form.
which we could just make as part of our application.
You could just print it out and
Yeah.
then they
With
would
the
go
web
online.
address even.
And it's a short form or the long form, isn't it? But
Yeah.
not
Both on the
both.
site, yeah.
And they're both on the state's website.
How do they make the determination of which one to use?
You use the long form for type 1 actions and
Right.
any other action that you feel may be worthwhile. But the DEC, when they came out with the new short form, which is much longer than the old long form, they kind of asked agencies, please do not use the long form unless it's really necessary. Because one of the biggest complaints they got when they did public hearings on whether SECRA was achieving its objectives or becoming a barrier to economic development was the rigorous nature of the long form EAF and how difficult that was and how it interfered with economic development. So they on their cookbook, on their website, they discourage the use of long forms except when necessary.
And necessary is type 1.
Generally, I think that's the best rule of thumb.
I think the rule of thumb is always submit a short form first.
And then we'll
And
ask.
then the board can say, no, we don't believe this is adequate.
Okay.
So I think your initial application should include short form.
Yeah, well, or that instruction. Use the short form unless
Unless it's a type 1.
unless you're a type 1,
use the long form.
but understand that this board may determine that you were required to submit the long form at a
Right.
later date.
Right.
Okay, so I guess the reason why I wanted this on the agenda was because I want you guys to look at this thing and kind of give me some feedback on how it should be changed. Not if it should be, because I've already decided it should be. To me, it's just out of date and I think can be streamlined and improved. And the EAF issue is just one of them. All right, so that'll be on the agenda for the next workshop, not the regular. You can take the whole thing.
No, I got it.
That's the actual packet. When you
Oh,
go on the
Yeah, yeah,
website,
yeah.
this whole big thing, and then it's weird because then she also has the project, the pieces of this separately. So you end up printing out multiple copies of things. It's kind of a pain. But that can be fixed once we get this in a Word format. So please look at that. We'll put it on for the workshop, not the regular meeting, but for the workshop. So be ready and bring it back in with you. Okay, so then the entity disclosure form, you're going to look up that issue on what Brian said, what the answer
Yeah.
was for the, so we have some guidance on what we're supposed to do when we have a publicly traded company is the issue, on how we're supposed to get that filled out. And then I had prepared for Ben. I went to a meeting of all the chairs of ZBA and planning boards for Orange County, and I got to talking with Gary Parisi about something Ben and I have been floating around. Generally, the first step in the process is for an applicant to figure out, gosh, do they need site plan approval review? Who should they be before? And really the first step is Ben. And the Village of Monroe uses an intake form. they're I believe, their building official. And the planning board gives it out as well. That gets filled out by the applicant and submitted to the code enforcement, the Ben person, and compiles all the information on that form for the Ben person to make the decision of whether or not it should be referred to the planning board. So I pulled that village form. I gave it to Ben a while ago. I haven't followed up with him because I haven't heard from him. But that would be my intent, because we often get a lot of inquiries from people asking us questions that are really more appropriate for Ben. And if Ben's not around, sometimes the staff sends them to Noreen, and Noreen has to say, no, you should be sending it back to your boss, Ben. So this would make things a little more streamlined. Unfortunately, though, now we have the proposed code changes, which kind of takes Ben out of the gatekeeper status, which I ardently feel is inappropriate. I really feel strongly that it should stay with Ben. It's, I think, far more appropriate. So I would have had that form for you to look at, but now we're kind of up in the air on the code change. And where we're at with the code change is Mike did get to me his proposed letter. That sort of memorialized all the things we accomplished at the last meeting, the special meeting we had. He has to make some revisions to it, and then
Send it to everyone tomorrow.
Yeah, he can send it to all of us. Was it to the town board or was it to the planning board members? It was to the town board.
Town board, but I'll copy you on it.
Yeah,
To letter
yeah.
to the town board reporting on
The
your
only thing
discussion
I'd
last
ask,
month.
do you want to see it before it goes to the town board? If you do, I'm fine with that, but I don't want to delay it too long. So he can circulate it to all of us first if you want, but I only want to give it a day or two before he gets it off to the
I
town
can
board
do
because
that,
time
sure.
is ticking. Yeah, so I think that might be wise, just in case we miss something. So yeah, if you can make this, the minor
I'll do it
changes I
tomorrow,
asked
yeah.
for, circulate it to everyone, and then guys, if you can get it done by, what's tomorrow, Wednesday? I don't know, hear from you by like Thursday, end of business Thursday. And then if no
If I've
changes
heard nothing, I'll send it out Friday.
on Friday, yeah, okay, that's a game plan, great. The discussion of the start time for the meeting and end time. You know, our last special meeting, we started at 7. We kind of got out, we got out at 9:30-ish. It was, I don't remember when we got out, but that was the hope. I don't think we actually did get out then, we didn't, it was later. But the hope is that if we started earlier, we can get out earlier. But so I need your feedback on whether you want to start at 7. I know a lot of other boards are starting to do that in different towns. So what's the thought? Anyone? Yeah.
I'm good with 7 or 7:30, whatever the board.
We were currently 7:30. That would be.
I know, but
No, you don't care.
I don't care.
Okay.
He's being cooperative for
He's
a
being
change.
cooperative.
Flexible.
Okay, Lisa,
7's fine with me.
Mary,
Okay, 7.
can you make it by 7, Gary?
Generally, yeah, but there might be a time or two.
Okay.
There's only a few more months.
Noreen, you're okay with 7. I know that. Yeah, George, how about you? Is it doable for you?
Sure.
And what about our consultants?
I would prefer 7. Every other board, including my own, is 7. It just
Yeah.
seems you're more alive as you get toward the end of the agenda.
Yeah. It'd be nice if I could eat dinner on a Tuesday night before 11:30. It'd be great. Maybe in the hope of getting out a little early. Mike, can you make it by 7?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So do you want to just, and Ward, how about you?
I have no say.
That's true, but as a courtesy, I can ask you.
Whatever.
Okay, good. So I make a motion that we try out 7 o'clock start time.
What we should do is change the website information so people know.
Well, if the motion passes, yeah, all
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second.
Okay. Yeah.
Aye.
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 Okay. So yeah, we'll have to change. Put a notice up on the website, right?
Mhm.
Do we have
We'll
to
have a
post?
brand new website,
Yes.
We do?
effective
Yep.
today.
Oh, that's awesome. Is it
Oh,
better?
wow.
Yesterday.
So she said August 1st.
Oh, I hope so. Gosh, I
Maybe it
hope
was
so.
yesterday.
That would be
It's
great.
supposed to be a lot better. She said that we should peruse it.
Is this through Board Docs?
No.
Oh, it's separate. Okay.
Board Docs is coming in September. I
Yeah.
sent you a note on that.
Yes, I know, and we have some training on that. That's fantastic news because that may eliminate our minutes problem. So
It
we
will,
just have to get
because-
through these minutes and then we'll be on Board Docs. I hope.
They're gonna get me a laptop and I'll be able to plug it.
Yeah, it's
That's what my
cool.
training is gonna be. I don't know whether
Okay.
I go all 3 days or part
Yep,
of the 3
we'll
days,
figure it out.
and you're supposed, if you wanna come.
Roger, is this gonna start next week, 7?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
I'd recommend we
yes.
take the meeting schedule for the balance of the year, just like I think we
Good.
publish it at the beginning of the year. Just change the start time, send it to the paper for informational purposes.
Okay.
Change it on the website in the calendar boxes and in the tab or whatever you want to call it for the planning board.
Okay.
And that should take care
And
of
this
it.
is all subject to someone at the town board or a town hall saying, no, you can't do it. But I don't know why we couldn't, because I'm pretty sure the space is available at 7 o'clock, and I don't know why they would care. So,
Space is available.
yeah, okay. All right, and then the meeting, the end time, as we discussed briefly before, my intention was that we really make workshops and use regular meetings for just actions to be taken. When you think about it, let's think about what the actions to be taken next week are. Potentially MICFA resolution. We would be hammering out the final details and actually passing the resolution if we can.
Mhm.
Potentially Glenwood. But other than that, I don't know that any action that would be taken on any matters. I don't think we have anything before us. Larkin, we had pushed because Leslie had
Yes.
a death in the family.
That's gonna be September.
But that's going to be September. So, as a good example, our meeting next week should be relatively short. Except for that, we now have all these minutes we have to do because I keep pushing it because we're tired. Right, so, but the hope
We're
would
gonna
be.
add one too, because June 6th is done.
Okay, so the intent would be that we not go past, 9:30 on a regular meeting night. I would love to say that for workshops, but I think it's just a lie. And I'd be lying if I told you that I thought we could actually pull that off, because we've never been able to pull that off, but that could be the hope. Some boards, I understand, have like a time clock, and they give every applicant 10 minutes, and that's it, and they're done. I don't know who was telling me that. One of you were telling me that.
Harry Marston in Village of Goshen years ago, he'd just do the arithmetic at the beginning and say, all right, you each have 12 minutes, we're going home at 9.
Did it work?
Yeah. Some people weren't happy.
I suppose if you don't have a goal, you don't ever reach the goal. We could try it. We could say,
I can't say all applicants were happy, but the board members got home at 9.
Well, that also means board members have to be concise about their discussion, and we could try it. Anyone want to try that?
Well, the problem with it is not every project has got
I know.
equal entitlement to that amount of time. That was the complaint. There were some projects need a little bit of time, some that
Yeah.
maybe only take 5 minutes.
Yeah, I
So
don't
it's
know.
really-
I don't.
It's very arbitrary to do
It
it.
seems really hard to do, but
Yes.
I suppose I could look at the agenda for that evening and come up with a game plan and announce it and try to stick with it. We can see how it works
Maybe we could
on a
try.
case-by-case basis.
Like, we have 6 items on our agenda here. Maybe we could try 20 minutes, and when you hit the 20-minute
Well, that's what I'm
mark,
saying.
try
I could look at the agenda for each meeting, and based on that, figure out, recognizing that maybe you need a longer discussion on one or two of them, but then the rest would be limited to a certain time. You can try that. But, okay. So beyond that, that was the only thing I really wanted to say about that. We're starting at 7,
Yeah.
and we're not doing minutes tonight, but I probably should make a motion. Do I have to make a motion for that?
For what?
That we're not doing minutes tonight?
No.
Does anyone want to do minutes tonight?
No.
Does anyone feel like we can actually get through minutes quickly?
No.
Fine, we're not doing minutes. I make a motion to adjourn.
No,
No.
Oh, we can't.
wetland markers.
Thank you, wetland markers, go, yes.
Mark had a August 2016 standard requirements for delineation of wetland boundaries for planning board applications. That was an email you sent. You mentioned brown markers. The town had been using blue markers. So I think that would be appropriate. Then there was a discussion.
Appropriate what, in Mike's letter?
Oh, they're white. Oh, they're white.
Wait,
That's right. There was the blue one over here, but the one with the white.
and what do you want?
Well, I think that's what needs to be discussed, because I think we wanted white to stick out, but we didn't want it to look like a picket fence, but
Right.
it's every 100 feet.
I have had the opportunity.
I have no say.
I've talked
Back
to
to you.
applicants, and generally applicants object to the markers when they are obtrusive. If you make them orange, if you make them yellow, if you make them white, they stick out like a sore thumb. And then they're more likely to be demolished. I was told that
Right.
if you use a brown, that it blends in, the message is clear, there's a sticker on the marker that identifies it as a wetland boundary, and there's a better chance that they won't be destroyed.
Just, sorry, I was shutting down.
Ta-da!
So, but my recollection was, Mark, when you submitted your comments to Mike's original zone code change letter, we attached, I thought I
Yeah.
captured that.
Yeah, I sent the copy to you, and I think I had showed brown
Wasn't
markers.
that in there?
Yeah, it was, well, I sent you separately an email, forwarded the memo
That's-
with the attachments.
Okay.
Right, but Mike, was this
I
email?
thought that was an attachment to the packet I sent to you and that I
That's what I
intend to
thought
send to
too.
the town board. I'll have to,
The one that we went over at the special meeting?
We're getting requests for some guidance, so my suggestion would be is that you adopt the standard that I set up preliminary
Yes,
as your standard
okay, right.
until it's superseded by local law.
Well, we have required some applicants to simply comply with this policy. But we should do it formally that this is our policy until maybe it's adopted into a law.
And that memo gives spacing. I'm sure that, I'm not going to double check that it says the buffer limits rather than the wetland limits. And we indicate the exact type of marker, the color of the marker, and we make it their obligation of the developer to purchase and install.
Can we do that without a code change?
It'd be better to make it part of the wetland law, but we've been doing it for a long time without
Okay,
any
so
code
here's what I'm gonna
authorization.
We
suggest.
have somebody coming up that's gotta put markers in pretty
So-
soon.
Mike, I would
Yeah.
like you to confirm that the initial letter we sent, I don't know if it went to the town board. Did it only go to Bonnie?
No, it did not go to the town board.
Right. So that.
Whether
the
it
se-
got
this-
there
this
through Bonnie,
letter-
I don't
the-
know.
The newest letter will, with that letter.
Yes.
And that letter had the attachments,
Yes.
Mark's comments. Make sure that, what is the date of that email?
Either yesterday or the day before. I think, like I said, my printer died, so I'm,
No, the email from Mark
From
on the,
Mark.
on the brown carcinite markers.
yeah, I think that was just the past couple of days.
Really?
No,
This is
it's
very,
from
I forwarded-
2016.
Yeah, a long time ago, right?
Well, that's his, that was the attachment to the
Oh, so
email.
you're just confirming for us what I've just said, that it was part of that package?
Yeah, I think
Because that
so.
was what was sent recently.
Right.
So it was already part of the package, it's already being submitted to the town board. What's the
Okay.
issue?
Well, I wanted to make sure Brown was.
Got ya. Okay.
And that it's the buffer. That was the other thing. That it's,
If it's
Right.
in that attachment to that email, that's being sent.
And make sure your letter says that we want them on the buffer, not on the actual
Yeah.
wetland. Okay, good. So then, the other thing was that, I think we should have it on the agenda for next week, that we adopt the policy and pending code changes, as outlined in Mark's, email. And we can put that, we can get that done next week.
it says wetland boundaries. I found this section. It says spacing of markers. 100 feet on center along the wetland boundary, but
So it
it
should
doesn't
say
say
buffer.
It
buffer.
doesn't say
boundary.
buffer. Is that in your letter, Mike?
No,
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry, is
taking
that
a
from
note.
Mark's, or is
Yeah.
that from the code?
I just forwarded my email that I sent to you, Audra,
Okay,
to
thank
Mike,
you.
which has the
Okay.
attachment.
Okay.
It's a
Good.
Word form, so you can edit it and
Okay.
Okay,
throw in the
I
word
have it, but I'll,
buffer
Buffer.
boundary.
okay.
What did you want on next week's agenda?
Adopting wetland marker policy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good, I like it. Speaking to me, did you hear that? Okay. I didn't know it did that. All right, that's it, right? Everything, we've got it all?
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, second.
Oh, they were all
Anthony
seconded.
seconded it. Aye.
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 Okay, great, thank you, everyone.